Share in the comments how many of these riddles you will answer correctly. Samantha and Jack got stranded on a tiny uninhabited island. They had no radio or cell phones, so they couldn't inform rescuers about their dire situation. There were no trees on the island, so they couldn't make a smoke signal, and all around them was just sand and rocks. Suddenly, Samantha noticed a plane circling the sky in search of them. Unfortunately, it was flying too high, and the pilot couldn't see them. That's when she got a bright idea. Soon after, the plane picked them up. What was Samantha's idea? To use rocks to spell out SOS on the sand. Detective Cooper needed to find out the very last piece of missing information in a case he had been dealing with lately. He finally got to the office where secret documents were hidden. To open the door, he needs to choose the right button. There are 3 of them, a yellow one, a green one, and a blue one. Which one should the detective choose? The detective needs to choose the blue button. It's pretty worn out, so it must have been used many times. Plus, there's a small note with a warning. The green button is for an emergency, and the yellow one shuts all the doors and turns off the lights in the whole building. Wow, I want one of those. One day, Amanda thought her boyfriend Eric had a secret from her. To find out what it was, she needed access to his laptop. She had no idea what the password was, but luckily, there was a post-it note right on his desk. However, she needed to decipher the pass. Apple, man, dawn. Can you crack this code? Right, it's Amanda. Her name is the code. By the way, the secret he was hiding was the birthday present Eric had been choosing for her. Well, that's what you get for snooping. Jack and Jim agreed to say yes all day long to all questions. If one of them doesn't say yes to a question, he automatically loses and must give $100 to his friend. Jim realized there was one question nobody could say yes to. What question was it? Jim realized nobody could say yes to the "Are you asleep?" question. Jim waited until Jack took a nap and recorded a video in which Jack replied with a snoring but not yes to Jim's question. Seems like a cheap shot. Jason is a shop assistant in a department store. At the moment, there are 3 people in a fitting room he's assisting. Jessica, the girl, is wearing a green dress. Sean, a man wearing a leather jacket and skinny jeans. And Alex, the man who's currently taking a larger pair of jeans that Jason brought him. One of the clients is an alien. Jason has to figure out who it is. It's Alex. Take a closer look at his feet. Only a reptile or an alien could have such feet. Julian needed to find a very important document he'd lost. He looked through all the papers and finally found something that looked like the document he actually needed. However, a couple of seconds later, he realized there were 4 copies of this document looking precisely the same, or not. Can you guess which one is the real document? It's the one in the upper left corner. It has a stamp and a signature, and it says Agreement. The one next to it looks similar, but it has a spelling mistake. It says Agreedment. The rest of the copies lack either a stamp or a signature. Mr. and Mrs. Jones are fond of art and love collecting rare and expensive pieces. Once they had to go on a business trip, and when they came back home, they realized something precious was missing. They instantly called the police, but the officers were confused because no painting was taken. Why were Mr. and Mrs. Jones worried then? A frame was missing. In fact, it cost much more than many art pieces, as it was encrusted with gems. Mary was walking in the woods and suddenly saw a really fancy castle. It was getting late, and she thought she might ask for a stay there overnight. It was a wicked troll's castle, and he really didn't like intruders. Mary was captured and locked in a dark room with 2 guards. Still, the troll gave her a chance to break free. There are 2 doors in the room. One door leads to freedom, and the other is locked. The guards know which door will set Mary free. One of the guards always tells the truth, while the other always lies, and Mary doesn't know who it is. She can ask just one question to one guard only. What question should she ask? If Mary says, "If I ask your colleague to show me the way to freedom, what door will it be?" No matter what the guard replies, they will point at the locked door. The one that lies will show the wrong door, and the one that doesn't lie will show the wrong door too, since it would be chosen by the one who lies. This way, Mary knows the wrong door, and she needs to select the other one. One man went to his friend's party and told his wife he'd be back before sunrise. He shaved and left home. He returned, as promised, before sunrise, but he was sporting a long, thick beard. How come? The man and his wife live in a place with polar nights that last for several months. Anthony, the financial director of a big company, finally persuaded new partners to sign a super important agreement. He then put this document into a folder and left it on the table in his office. When he arrived at work the following day, the folder was gone. Anthony gathered all the employees in the office at the time and questioned them. The cleaning lady said she had been busy washing the floor and hadn't paid attention to anything around. The designer explained that he hadn't left his working place even once. What's more, being an artist, he didn't have any interest in agreement documents. The accountant admitted that he had entered Anthony's office to have some documents signed, but once he noticed there was no one inside, he immediately left. Who took the folder with the agreement? It was the designer. Anthony never mentioned which folder was gone. How would he know that the missing folder had an agreement inside? Eric wears either only black or only white socks. One morning, he was in a hurry to get ready for an important meeting. Suddenly, the power goes out. The guy has 10 white and 10 black socks in his drawer, but all of them are mixed. He doesn't want to look silly at work wearing different socks. If it's completely dark in the room and Eric can't see anything, how many socks should he pull out of the drawer to get himself 2 matching ones? Three socks are more than enough. In a set of 3 socks, he's bound to have 2 of the same color. Jane told her boss someone had taken the documents she had prepared for the meeting. She added that she had noticed someone come in wearing a smart suit, gloves, and a black mask. This person also had 3 rings on their fingers. The boss didn't believe her. Why? She said the person was wearing gloves. Then how did she see 3 rings on their fingers? Jane must have simply forgotten to print those documents out. On a nice warm day, Vivian, who lived in a town on the seashore, decided to go for a hike alone. But after hours of trekking, she ended up in a section of the forest she wasn't familiar with. Before her, there were 3 paths. One path had bare footprints leading away. Another had human footprints. And the third one was right by the river. Which one should Vivian take to find her way? The river path. Since she lives in a coastal town, the river mouth most likely ends up in the sea. That way, she could figure out where she was. So now it's your turn. Count 'em up. How many correct answers do you have?
For several days, a large werewolf has been scaring the residents here. You know that the werewolf has a wife, and she's the only person who can calm the monster down and help him return to his human form. You have found 3 girls. Each of them might be the werewolf's wife you're looking for. You ask his wife to approach him, but none of the girls admits she's the one you need, so you have to make your own choice. Do you see some wool on the girl's clothes? It's the wolf's fur, which means she's the wife. She walks up to the monster, hugs it, and the werewolf turns into a human. You're hungry. You drop by a pizzeria. The owner of the restaurant says that someone has taken all his weekly earnings from the safe. The thief wore gloves and left no fingerprints. The video cameras were turned off. You know this pizzeria has had several similar incidents over the past year. Every time, the insurance company paid the owner the entire amount that had been stolen. You're sure the owner took his own money to use the insurance again. Take a look at the office and prove that the owner is guilty. Look at the air vent. Behind the grated hatch, you can see the bundles of the stolen money you've been looking for. Suddenly, someone shoved Stacy into the water. Down in the Sea Kingdom, Stacy met Neptune. He was sitting on his throne, surrounded by 3 mermaids. Neptune asked Stacy to return the pearl necklace to his wife. She had recently lost it, and Luke found the necklace on the shore. Can you guess which mermaid is Neptune's wife? The third one. She's the only one who's wearing an engagement ring. When Stacy gave the necklace to its rightful owner, Neptune snapped his fingers. His guards brought Luke. Neptune said, "I'll let you go home safely, but you have to choose the right door." There were demons behind the first door. They were ready to eat anyone who dared to come in. There was lava all over the floor of the room behind the second door. And finally, there was a laser beam that could cut through anything it touched behind the third door. Which door should Stacy and Luke choose? The third one. They can crawl under the beam without touching it. You were in a hurry and forgot to lock the apartment door while leaving. Someone got in and locked the door from the inside, and you had to use the key to open it. You see a human silhouette standing in the shadows and realize that you know this person. Who is it? It's the woman who asked you to help her brother. She was wearing a red bracelet. The silhouette has the same accessory. "I came here to thank you in person. The door was open, but you weren't at home," the woman says. A mysterious biologist invites you to his home for dinner. He takes you down to the basement and puts 3 plates of weird items on the table. One has wild mushrooms with white gills. The second is filled with castor beans. The third has some fish brains. Which one is safe to eat? The plate of fish brains is the only dish that isn't poisonous. Someone got into Matthew's house during a severe rainstorm and took a lot of expensive stuff. The man called the police. They came over and started to interview the neighbors. Nicole said she lived alone and worked from home. She was inside the whole day. Jerry explained he was a chef in an Italian restaurant. He came back from work only half an hour ago. Sophia told the police she hadn't left home because she was ill. Who was the intruder? It was Nicole. She claimed that she'd been inside the entire day, but there was a wet umbrella in the corner. Kim and Ashley are best friends. They decided to spend summer vacation in Italy together. They were very lucky to buy cheap plane tickets. Their flight was at 10 a.m. Unfortunately, when the girls arrived at the airport, they realized it was the wrong one. Now, they have 2 options. To take a high-speed train for $100 to go to the right airport, or stay here and buy tickets for a later flight for $400. What should they choose? The second option. Look at the clock on the wall. It's 9:55 a.m. The boarding for their flight is already over. They won't make it even if they take a high-speed train. Kim and Ashley bought new tickets. They went to the airport restaurant to drink coffee. But one weird detail scared Kim away. She suggested they should leave that place as soon as possible. What did Kim see? This woman over there is a zombie. Wow! How did she get through security? When it was time to finally board the plane, it turned out there were no more economy class seats left. Kim and Ashley were offered to fly in business class. There, the girls saw 3 people. When the flight attendant served them fresh juice, she whispered that Kim and Ashley were extremely lucky. They were about to travel next to a famous Italian billionaire. Can you guess which of these passengers is the billionaire? This glamorous lady is a good candidate, but it's very unlikely a billionaire will wear a 100% polyester coat. This guy's business suit is very elegant, but look at his shoes. They seem quite cheap and worn out. This funny gentleman must be the real billionaire. Although his outfit is rather casual, his gold watch looks very expensive. Once, a bank was robbed. The police suspected that one of the bank security guards had helped the criminals. Detective Justin had to question 3 of them. The first security guard told him he had heard some shouting and rushed there, but by the time he arrived, the criminals had already been gone. The second security guard explained he had been drinking a cup of coffee at that moment and hadn't even heard anything. And the third guard said he had run after the thieves, but he had to lace his boots. Without a second thought, he crouched near an emergency exit. At that very moment, the door opened and hit him on the head. When he came back, the criminals had been gone. Justin immediately understood which guard was guilty. Who was it? It was the third guard. All emergency doors open outwards for safety reasons. The police have been looking for Kyle for 2 days. The guy went hiking and never came back. Finally, he was found. Someone had hit him on the head and left him lying in the bushes. Kyle only managed to say, "Friend," in a weak voice, and lost consciousness. The police officers had 3 suspects, all of them Kyle's friends. Zachary said he spent the last days at work getting ready for a conference. Jesse told the detective he'd sprained his ankle and had been in bed for 4 days. And Billy explained he'd been to New York for business. The man even showed the police officers his boarding pass. Who's behind the accident with Kyle? Police immediately noticed that Billy had showed just 1 boarding pass. Then how did he get back from New York? His story sounds fishy. Uh-oh. Tommy was exploring old caves outside the city when he got trapped in a mysterious dungeon. There were 3 ways out, but only one of them was safe. Behind the first door, a fire was raging. Behind the second door, there was acid rain which could melt any substance within seconds. Behind the third door, there was a huge brown bear that hadn't eaten for 2 years. Which way should Tommy choose? Tommy should choose the third way. No animal can go for 2 years without food and survive. Barely, haha. It was a stormy day and it had been raining for several hours straight. A car accident happened in a tunnel. The yellow car crashed into the red one. The driver of the yellow car said it had been raining so heavily he hadn't seen anything. So the accident wasn't totally his fault, but the police asked the man to stop lying and claimed it was all his fault. Why? The accident happened in the tunnel. It couldn't be raining there. Mrs. Cabell is the owner of a small company producing expensive designer cups. On Friday, when the working week was finally over, she got a call from her bank. The woman found out that someone had stolen all the money she had saved. Mrs. Cabell realized it must have been one of her workers. So she asked each of them what they had been doing that day. Sloan, a sales manager, said she'd been talking to their clients and looking for new ones. Atticus, a potter, said that he always made 1 cup a day, and he showed all the cups he had done that week. Sierra, a designer, said that she'd been working. but also admitted she hadn't really been productive that day because of some family issues. Who lied? Atticus, there are 5 working days in the regular week. The man said he made 1 mug a day, but he only showed 4 mugs. It means he missed 1 day of work.
Jenny and Ben were about to get married. They wanted to book a hotel for their wedding ceremony in the party. So they went to a wedding planner to look at some options. She told them only 3 hotels were available for the day they wanted and showed them the pictures. Which one should they choose? Take a closer look at the 3rd floor windows of the first hotel. In the last window on the right, there's a creepy shadow of a monster that appears and disappears. 5 stars or not, no one would like to get married in a haunted place unless they're an Addams Family member. In the 3rd hotel, only has 2 stars. It probably doesn't have the facilities to host a wedding, so the best choice is the 2nd hotel. Great choice, the wedding planner said, and you're in luck because they actually have a great discount offer. If you can answer this riddle correctly, you won't have to pay for the ballroom rental. Here it is. Those who have it, do not say it. Those who take it, do not know it. Those who know it, do not want it. What is it? Do you know the answer? It's fake money. The next day, Ben and Jenny went to the hotel to pick the best ballroom for their party. The hotel manager took them to 3 different rooms where they could host everything, from the ceremony itself to the dinner and after party. Which one should they pick? Do you see a little mouse hole in the corner of the first ballroom? The couple wouldn't want such uninvited guests at their party. As for the 2nd ballroom, the chandelier looks like it might fall down any minute. Not the safest option, so they should pick the 3rd ballroom. It was time for Ben and Jenny to pick the wedding menu. Since they were not paying for the venue, they wanted to spare no expense in serving food that the guests would never forget. That's why they called 3 different Michelin star chefs. Each of them prepared a different dish and presented them for a tasting. Which chef, and therefore which dish, should they go for? Even though the dish the 2nd chef made looks perfectly fine, do you see a rat's tail hanging from his chef's hat? There must be some ratatouille situation going on there. So that's a pass. The 3rd dish looks like spaghetti, right? Well, look again. Those are actually very thin snakes. Exotic flavors might not be the best option, so they better go with the classical burger that the first chef made. Before they made their wedding vows, Jenny had to say yes to a dress. So, she went to a couture store to check their wedding gown collection. She explained to the designer the style of the dress she wanted for her ceremony. The designer said he had just the perfect gown for her and would bring it to her if she answered his riddle correctly. He asked, if a gown takes an hour to dry, how many hours will it take 6 dresses to dry? It'll still take 1 hour because they'll all dry at the same time. Ben had one last item to buy on his wedding shopping list, and it was what fastens 2 people yet touches only one. Can you figure out what it is? It's a wedding ring, of course. Ben headed to a jewelry store to get something blue for his bride. The store owner showed him 3 different wedding rings with blue gemstones. Which one should he buy? The 2nd ring has an engraving inside, so it must have belonged to someone else before. The The gemstone on the third ring has a tiny crack in it. That can only mean it's made of glass or even plastic. So, Ben should buy the first ring with a sapphire. Next, Ben and Jenny were going to send out invitations. One print shop offered them 3 different versions of invitations. Which one should they choose? Do you remember the name of the hotel they booked? It was Sunrise Lodge, but the first invitation says Sunset Lodge. So this one won't do. And on the third invitation, their names are printed as Benny and Jen. That's not our couple, so they should choose the second invitation. Before the wedding, 3 of their friends paid them a visit. One of them brought a painting as a wedding gift, but all 3 claimed that they were the artist who had created it. 2 of them must be lying. Can you figure out who the actual artist is? Take a look at the signature on the painting. It says Denise. Now look at the third friend's necklace. It has the letter D, so she must be Denise, the artist who painted the painting. It was finally the day of the wedding, and Ben and Jenny's guests started to arrive. However, the hotel security spotted 3 suspicious-looking people who could be uninvited. Take a look at these 3 guys. Can you tell which one is not supposed to be at the wedding? Do you see the hotel wristbands that say Ben and Jenny, that the second and the third guys are wearing? That can only mean they are actually invited. So it's the first guy who's crushing the wedding. Sorry, dude, no free drinks for you. After the vows were exchanged, it was time to party. As Ben and Jenny were dancing, someone spilled their drink on Jenny's dress, but no one saw who it was. Jenny spotted 3 people who could have done it. Take a look at them. Can you tell who ruined her dress? The first guy has spots on his shirt that resemble stains from the spilled drink, but they are actually part of the pattern, so it can't be him. The third lady looks clean, but the hem of the second lady's skirt looks dirty, so it must be her who did it. After the ceremony ended, Ben and Jenny wanted to take a photo to capture the moment forever. But take a look at it. There's something strange about it. Can you spot what it is? Can you see a woman hiding behind the trees watching them? She is wearing a witch hat, but it's a wedding ceremony and not a costume party. Creepy. Right before leaving, Jenny suddenly vanished. Then the witch suddenly appeared in front of Ben and said, "You may only kiss the bride if you figure out with whom you really tied the knot." Ha ha! Then 2 Jennies appeared in front of Ben. Can you tell which one is his real wife? Remember the wedding photo? The Jenny on the left is the real one because her tattoo is on the same side as in the photo. Now that Ben and Jenny's wedding was over, phew, it was time for them to pick a honeymoon destination. They went to a travel agency to book a tour. The travel agent offered them 3 different holiday destinations: Ibiza, Cannes, and the Caribbeans. Which one should they go to? Have you noticed the weather forecast on TV in the office? It states that the weather in Ibiza is going to be windy in the upcoming days, and in Cannes, it's going to be rainy. So they should pick the Caribbeans and enjoy the sun. The travel agent said she could upgrade their plane tickets to business class for free. It would be her wedding gift to them. But they had to crack this riddle. What can travel around the world while staying in a corner? It's a stamp. Mary runs a beauty salon.
Hello.
She arrives at work in the morning and sees one odd thing. Can you spot what's wrong with this place? The mirror images of these two clients are swapped. Mary says hi to all employees, but there's one imposter among them. Can you tell who? This guy over here. Cutting hair doesn't require kitchen ladles. One of the clients is unhappy about her haircut. She approaches Mary and demands her money back. Mary asks two of her best hairdressers, "Ladies, who did this haircut?" Nina says, "It was Sarah." And Sarah blames Nina. Can you guess who actually did the haircut? It was Sarah. The client's little purple hairs are still on her black dress. Mary is taller than Sarah, and Nina is shorter than Mary. We know that only one of the following statements is correct. 1. Sarah is taller than Nina. 2. Nina is taller than Sarah. 3. It cannot be determined if Nina or Sarah is the tallest. Can you guess which one? Statement 3 is correct. The only thing that we know for sure is that Mary is the tallest. If Nina and Sarah have different heights, one of the other statements is also correct. But if Nina and Sarah have the same height, none of the other two statements are correct. Mary walks around the beauty salon to check if everything's fine. Can you find any odd details in this picture? There's a snake hiding in this woman's dreadlocks. After work, Mary is visiting her boyfriend, Steve, at the police station.
Hello.
Steve is a detective. He just finished interrogating these 3 criminals. One of these guys is planning to escape tonight. Can you guess who? There's a nail file in this guy's cake, so he's the one who's planning to escape. Mary and Steve are having a romantic walk in the park late at night. Can you see anything weird here? There are 2 moons in the sky.
Oh my god!
Suddenly, a thief pops out of nowhere, grabs Mary's bag, and runs away.
Oh, no.
Steve follows him, but the thief runs into a nightclub and blends in with the crowd. The thief was wearing a mask, so Steve couldn't see his face. Can you help him catch the criminal? The thief was wearing a gold watch on his right hand, just like this guy. The next day, Mary is holding a workshop for hairdressers. There are 10 students in one classroom. Each person can see the entire room and everyone else. Mary wants to place a wig so that all but one person can see it. Where would you place the wig in the room? She should put the wig on anyone's head. Mary looks out the window and sees a football team in front of the beauty salon. Each guy is holding a sign with some inscription. Can you guess who the message is for? One of the football players is asking Emily out on a date. At the end of her working shift, Mary goes to the basement to check the drinking water supply. Suddenly, the door slams, and she has to find an alternative way out. Mary walks through a creepy basement and finds 3 doors. A tunnel behind the first door is on fire. Behind the second door, there are UV lamps. And behind the third door, there are angry tigers waiting to jump on Mary. Which door should she choose? The first one. She can use a couple of the drinking water bottles and put out the fire. There are 3 ladies waiting in line for a manicure, but one of them cannot get her nails done. Can you tell who? This lady. Take a look at the reflection. It's just a cardboard cutout. The working day is over at 8 p.m. All the employees go home and Mary remains alone. She puts all the cash in the safe locker and goes home too. In the morning, she returns and finds out that all the cash is gone. She calls the police, and they question 3 suspects. Nina, the hairdresser, says, "I finished with my last client at 6 p.m. and left right away." Emma, the cleaning lady, says, "I cleaned all of the studio after Mary left. Then I locked the door and went home. I didn't notice anything suspicious." Sarah says, "I was waiting for my last client until 7:30, but he didn't show up. So I rescheduled the appointment for today and went home." Who's lying? Emma. Mary was the last person to leave the workplace yesterday. Mary goes on a date to a restaurant. Her boyfriend brings her flowers and chocolates. In the morning, she wakes up with a severe allergy. She goes to the hospital. Doctors find out that she was poisoned, but they don't know what kind of antidote she needs. Mary needs to identify the source quickly, so she hires a detective. He questions everyone who could give the allergen to Mary. Steve, the boyfriend, says, "We had the same food and drinks in the evening. I don't understand how it could happen." Pizza guy says, "I brought her pizza yesterday, but it was all right for sure. No one else complained about anything." And Bella, Mary's bestie, says, "I think it's her boyfriend's fault. He called me and asked what kind of flowers Mary liked. Who caused Mary's allergy?" Bella. She advised Steve to give Mary allergenic flowers. Mary gets well and goes back to work. She arrives at her beauty salon and sees these 3 clients. Only one of them is a natural blonde. Can you guess who? The first lady has black armpit hair, and the third lady has dark roots and eyebrows. Therefore, they are not natural blondes. And this elegant lady with green hair has light eyebrows and eyelashes, which means she's the only natural blonde among these 3 people. Suddenly, all the lights in the beauty salon turn off. Thankfully, in a few seconds, the light is back again. But Emily yells, "Someone stole my chocolate bar!" Mary interrogates 3 suspects. Emily's client says, "That wasn't me. I just got nail polish applied. And I'm still waiting for it to dry." Nina says, "I'm afraid of the dark, so when the lights went out, I just froze." And Angela says, "Someone pushed me in the dark and I fell on the floor." Who took the chocolate bar? Angela. She has crumbs on her cheek. Steve wants to give Mary a legendary gift for her birthday, but he has absolutely no idea what to get her. He decides to sneak into her laptop and check out her shopping cart. Mary goes to the bathroom and Steve sneaks into her room and turns on the laptop. It requires a password, but Steve doesn't know it. Luckily, there's a note next to Mary's laptop saying 6226. Sam tries it, but it doesn't work. Can you crack the password? Steve should try 222-222-66. Mary puts her stuff in the storage room and leaves for a while. When she returns, she notices that someone has stolen her bag. The manager calls the police and locks the doors. A policeman comes over and identifies 3 suspects. The hairdresser had a live stream with her Instagram followers. The manicurist says that she was focused on her work. And the cleaner says that he was washing the floor and he didn't notice anyone suspicious. Have you guessed who the thief is? The hairdresser. Take a look at her earrings. She left one of them at the crime scene. Mary gives her student Nancy a tricky task. She gives her 3 boxes. Each of the boxes contains hair extensions of a certain color and 2 statements. In one of the boxes, 2 statements are false. In the other boxes, both statements are true. Let's open up the first box. The 2 notes say, 1. Don't use this color. 2. Don't take the color from the second box. The 2 notes from the second box say, 1. Don't use the color from the first box. 2. And take the color from the third box. And finally, the notes in the third box say, 1. Don't use this color. 2. Take the color from the first box. Which color should Nancy choose to pass the test? Nancy should choose the color from the third box.
A wealthy man, Mr. Johnson, had a precious vase that he valued more than all other belongings. One day, the vase disappeared. The man was miserable. An hour after he discovered it was missing, he got a message. "If you don't come here in 10 minutes with $100,000, your vase will be broken." There was a photo attached to the message. Mr. Johnson realized it was some hotel. In that area, there were 3 of them: the Hero of California, Hummingbird, and Youth Hostel. Where should the man go? Mr. Johnson should hurry to Hummingbird. It's the only hotel that has the 7th floor. Amanda was in the middle of a burning room. The only window was small and too high for the woman to reach. There was also nothing to climb or stand on. There was no rope, neither was there a door. And still, in a matter of seconds, Amanda was outside. How is it possible? There was no door in the room. The woman just ran out through the doorway. A woman is sitting in her cabin in Ohio, but 4 hours later, she gets out of her cabin in Arizona. How did she do it? The woman is a pilot, and the cabin is actually the cockpit of the plane she flies. One night, Kevin broke into a rich house. He knew its owner had just bought a unique diamond. The thief managed to get through one of the trickiest security systems he'd ever seen. And here it was, the diamond. After grabbing the gem, Kevin got out of the house, but when he was already outside the gate, 2 security guards caught him. The guy tried to persuade the men he was only a passerby, but they didn't believe him. They searched Kevin, but found nothing. The guards were puzzled and decided the thief had swallowed the diamond. But X-ray also didn't show anything strange. The security guards had to let Kevin go. The guy got home, and in a few minutes, he had the diamond in his hands. How did he smuggle it? When Kevin broke into the house, he wasn't alone. His parrot was with him. After getting the precious stone, the guy attached it to the parrot's foot, and the bird brought the diamond back home. Paul was a young but very talented chemist. He was going to attend a very important conference where he had to present his latest work. But right before the event, Paul's envious colleague locked the guy in his lab. There was no way he could get out of there on his own. In the middle of the room, there was a test tube with some bright purple liquid inside. There was also a note. "This mixture will blow up in 1 minute. You've got only one chance to neutralize it with one of these ingredients. If you add the correct one, the reaction will stop. Here's the clue you'll need to figure out the needed ingredient. HIJKLMNO. And don't hope your chemical knowledge will help here. Luckily, Paul was very smart and managed to find the right ingredient before the time ran out. Which one was it? It's a row of letters from H to O. It means the needed ingredient is H2O, which is water. 2 identical vans were crossing the bridge when it collapsed. The car fell into the water and started to sink. Luckily, the drivers were unharmed. But they had to find the way to the surface really fast because the vans started to fill with water. One of the men began to push the driver's door, and the other was trying to open the side door. Who has the higher chances of survival? The first driver won't be able to open the door because of the water pressure. But the side door in the second car is a sliding one. With some effort, the second driver will be able to open it and escape. One person can dig a hole within 1 day. Then, how long will it take 2 people to dig half a hole? There's no such thing as half a hole. Look at these pictures and try to figure out which mirror is magical. It's the one on the right. It shows the man wearing a mustache, but in real life, his face is clean-shaven. Betty was having lunch in her favorite cafe when several police officers came in. They were looking for a criminal who had escaped from the police station the day before. Betty started to look around, examining the visitors. She spotted the criminal even faster than the officers did. Who was it? Look at the barman. He's wearing handcuffs. Daniel wanted to go to the seaside with his friends in the summer, but his father reminded the guy he'd promised to help in his parents' store. When the man saw how upset his son was, he offered him a deal. Daniel had to solve several riddles, and then he'd be free to go and have fun with his friends. So, our customers often ask us to sell them something that's full of holes but can still hold water. What should we offer them? After a while, Daniel found the right answer. What's this mysterious thing? It's a sponge. Daniel's father continued, I'm thinking of introducing a new method of pricing the things we sell. Socks will cost $20. A tie will be $12. You'll have to pay $28 for a sweater. And a coat will cost $16. Based on this pricing method, how much will be a t-shirt? Do you know the answer? Daniel was confused at first, but then he realized the correct answer was $24. His father was going to charge $4 for each letter needed to spell the item of clothing. You're doing really well, Daniel's father told the guy. That's why I'll give you just one more riddle. If you crack it, you can have some rest in the summer. 81 times 9 equals 801. This equation isn't correct. What can you do to make it true? This riddle took Daniel quite a while. And how fast can you solve it? All Daniel had to do was turn the equation upside down. Luckily, the guy managed to figure it out. He got 108 equals 6 times 18. Jason was a courier who regularly delivered food and other stuff to Mrs. Brown. The elderly lady really liked him a lot. She trusted him enough to let the guy use her spare key. The lady kept it under her doormat. When Mrs. Brown was away, Jason would take this key and leave everything he brought inside. One day, the guy came to the woman's house and found out the key wasn't in its usual place. He rang the bell, and a man he'd never seen before opened the door. I'm an electrician, he said. I was fixing some lighting problems in the living room, and the elderly lady is resting now. Jason immediately called the police. Why? The criminal entered the house with the help of the spare key. Paul came back from his lunch break and saw that someone had spilled coffee all over his documents. He cried out, and this attracted his boss's attention. The man decided to figure out who had spoiled Paul's work. He asked his subordinates what they had been doing during their lunch break. Nancy and Liza said they had been together. They went to a cafe to get some coffee. Brian explained that he'd felt unwell. That's why he decided to take a walk in the park. And Sandra said that she'd been talking to her boyfriend on the phone. The boss immediately realized who was lying. Can you figure it out? It was Sandra. There's a sign on the wall that prohibits the employees to use their phones in the office. It means the girl couldn't be speaking with her boyfriend. A wealthy businessman disappeared right from his home one afternoon. His wife called the police. The detective arrived and questioned everyone who was in the house at that time. The cook said that she'd been preparing dinner and hadn't left the kitchen. The maid claimed she had been cleaning the dining room after the businessman and his wife had had lunch. And the wife said that after lunch, she'd been sunbathing and swimming in the pool. The detective immediately realized who was behind the man's disappearance. Do you know the answer? It was the wife. Look outside. It's late fall and there's no water in the swimming pool. Jeffrey was on a plane, ready to have his first parachute jump, when he started to panic. Without putting on his parachute, the guy jumped out of the plane, and still, he remained absolutely unharmed. How is it possible? The plane was still on the ground. There's a large apple tree growing on a cliff. If a powerful wind is blowing towards the land, where will the apples fall? In any case, they will fall down. Like every morning, Daphne went to her favorite local cafe to get her coffee and breakfast sandwich. She left the cafe after she'd paid. A few minutes later, she returned, looking anxious, because she had forgotten her wallet. Strangely, it was nowhere to be found. She called the police to report the incident. Nobody had left the store, so the thief was still there when the officer arrived. He started questioning everyone. Jenny, the cashier, said that Daphne was a regular customer and she had known her for a long time. So, she would never steal her wallet, and she didn't see it after Daphne had paid. Andre was a tourist visiting the city for the first time. He said he'd come to the cafe because he'd wanted to try their famous muffins. She claimed he hadn't seen the wallet. He was busy trying to pick what type of muffin he should get at the time. And Harry worked as a store clerk. He said that he'd come there to grab a coffee, and he didn't see the wallet because he was pouring milk into his coffee. So who do you think stole the wallet? It was Harry, the store clerk, or should I say Harold. Do you see his name tag? He lied about his name when he ordered his drink. Also, even though he said he was pouring milk in his coffee, as you can see, it doesn't have any milk in it. Jessica was an aspiring actor, and she had a big musical theater audition that day. She left her house early in the morning to make it on time, but she had forgotten to take her sheet music with her, so she had to drive back. When she walked in, though, she saw her roommate lying on the floor unconscious. A nurse was standing beside her. She explained to Jessica that her roommate had been poisoned, but luckily, she'd had enough time to call an ambulance before she passed out. Jessica immediately realized something was wrong. She thanked the nurse for helping her friend and asked her if she could get her a glass of water or anything else. The nurse agreed, and Jessica hurried to the kitchen. There, she called the police saying, "There's a fake nurse in my house. She poisoned my roommate and tried to rob her." How did Jessica understand that? When she arrived at the house, there was no ambulance car in the driveway or in the street. And it's not like paramedics started using Uber. And you might have also noticed that the paramedic bag the nurse was holding was slightly open, and Jessica's roommate's jewelry was dangling out of it. Anna and Catherine are both influencers, but take a look at the latest photos they posted. Which of these ladies do you think is richer? Catherine is richer, of course. Just look at the number of likes on her photo. She has 27,907 likes. Anna, on the other hand, has 9,837, which means that Catherine has way more followers and must be earning millions. Annie managed to buy presents for everyone except her dad. She knew what everyone wanted, but her dad was kind of secretive and not the talking type. He was also not great with technology and never bought anything online. So there was no way she could sneak into her dad's computer and check the saved items in his shopping cart. But he always liked to make lists in his little notebook, and Annie was sure she might be able to find a wish list there. So she sneaked into her father's office one day to look for the notebook. It was nowhere to be found, but his study table had a locked drawer. She looked for the key around the room but couldn't find it anywhere. That's when 2 different sticky notes attached to 2 different books inside the bookcase caught her eye. The first note was attached to a psychology book and had P5487TH written on it. The second note was attached to a detective novel and said P21320TH. Annie immediately knew what the notes meant. Can you guess what she had to do? She had to open to page 548 in the first book and find the 7th word on this page. Then, she had to open page 213 in the second book and find the 20th word on that page. The words she found were under and desk. The girl immediately looked under the desk and found the drawer key taped to it. James was walking back to his apartment from work late at night. Suddenly, he was hit on the head and taken away. When he woke up, he found himself in a small room. He tried to escape, but the door was locked with a padlock. James tried to look for the key, but there was nothing in there but a window with strange-looking metal bars. Suddenly, he noticed something. It helped him to find the key. Do you see it too? One of the metal bars is different from the others. That one is the key. Giselle was camping in the forest during a night when the moon was full. After midnight, when she was making s'mores by a fire, she heard a loud howl. There was a werewolf in the forest, and it managed to find Giselle's tent because it smelled of food there. Thankfully, Giselle was not in her tent anymore when the werewolf arrived because she had already run away. Hiding behind a tree, she watched the creature eat her s'mores and tear up the tent. When the werewolf left before sunrise, the girl returned to her tent, but everything was ruined. There was no more food or water left. Her cell phone had run out of battery, so she couldn't call anyone. She started wandering through the forest, and soon she came upon a witch's house. When she walked in, she saw the witch and another lady. Giselle asked the witch if she could send her home. The witch agreed to help her on one condition. She would only send Giselle home if she guessed her sister's name. If not, she would turn her into a frog. Giselle knew the answer, but how? Did you notice that the witch's sister is wearing the same necklace around her neck as the werewolf? Well, Giselle did, and there's a name written on the necklace: Abigail. Zoe went to a security guard and reported that her gym bag was missing. She said she'd gone to the ladies' restroom after her dance cardio class. She was fixing her hair when someone came up from behind and pushed her. So she didn't see the person who had taken her bag. The security guard refused to check the footage from the security camera that was outside the restroom. Neither did he file a report. Why? Zoe said she was fixing her hair, so she must have been looking in the mirror. If she was telling the truth about someone sneaking up from behind, she would have definitely seen their reflection. So, Zoe probably lied so that she could sue them. Luckily, the security guard was super smart. Several women went missing in a small town. James Darcy and his police team had been searching for months, but they couldn't find the place where the women were kept. One day, when Sandra was jogging, she decided to use another route to get home. As she was passing an old cabin, she heard screams coming from its basement. She immediately called James Darcy to report it. James and his team arrived at the place and busted in. They found there 3 women. They all said that they had been locked in the basement for months, but James knew one of them was lying. The first woman said that her name was Tammy and that she had spent almost 8 months in the basement. The second woman claimed that her name was Hannah and that she had been there for almost 5 months. The third woman told him that her name was Allison and that she had stayed there for about 3 months. Can you tell who the liar is? Allison is telling the truth. Look at her. Her clothes are dirty. Her hair is greasy. Her roots have started to grow out. She definitely hasn't seen daylight for a long time. The same goes for Hannah. But look at Tammy. She looks clean. Her clothes look new. Her hair and makeup look fresh. So it must be her who is lying. David spent his summer break at a science camp that was at a big space facility. When the summer break ended and school started, he told his friends from the science club all about his camp adventures. He said that at the facility, he had found a secret room. And in there was a time machine. He stepped into it and pressed some buttons to test if it really worked. And it did. He traveled through time and was able to talk to Nikola Tesla, Chuck Berry, and King Aragorn. But one of his friends immediately called him out for lying. How did he know that David made up this whole thing? Well, even if David actually managed to travel through time, he might have been able to talk to Nikola Tesla and Chuck Berry, but definitely not King Aragorn, because he is a fictional character.
Robert was a collector of rare coins. One day, the man called the police. "I got this coin only yesterday," he cried. "I've been looking for it for several years, and now it's gone. I'll bet it's one of my brothers. Frederick and Matthew live together with me. One of them collects ancient books, and the other is crazy about rare stamps. All our collections are kept in one large room." The police started to ask Robert for more details. It turned out that the key from the room where all the collections were was kept in a vase standing on the fireplace. The only person who visited the house was Robert's friend, Mark. The man liked the coin so much that he started offering big money for it. But Robert didn't agree to sell it. In the morning, he came to check on the coin, but it was missing. When the police arrived, they found out the room had been opened with the key. The police didn't find any fingerprints either. Do you know who stole the coin? It was Mark. He was the only person who had a reason for getting rid of the fingerprints. The brothers' fingerprints would be absolutely natural since they lived there. There was a blackout in the city, but the bus driver still noticed a dog on the road and managed to stop in time. How did he do this? This accident happened during the day. It's nothing but holes tied to other holes. At the same time, it's as strong as steel, but not as stiff as a pole. What is it? It's a chain. Stephen's wife called the police and told them her husband had disappeared right from his garage. It happened several hours ago. The only thing she found there was a left-hand glove. When the police came, they saw it was a very peculiar glove. Such gloves were sold only in one store in their town. The store owner told them he had recently sold these gloves only to two people, Kevin, Stephen's neighbor, and Brian, Stephen's colleague at work. The police officers visited Kevin and asked the man to show them his gloves, but Kevin had just one. "I lost the other glove a week ago, and I don't have any other gloves." The man even pulled the glove on to demonstrate it to the officers. Then the police visited Brian. "I was wearing these gloves when I was repairing my car. They got so dirty that I threw them away." Who do you think knows something about Stephen's disappearance? Brian. Kevin put his glove on his left hand, and the glove Stephen's wife found was also for the left hand. A math teacher told his students about the Roman numerals. After that, he asked them to draw just one continuous line and turn IX into 6. The only condition was that the students were not to lift their pens from the paper until the line was finished. Jeffrey was the first to complete this task. How did he do this? He drew the letter S in front of IX and got 6. Both Sharon and Cynthia had a box of chocolates each. There were 14 chocolates in each box. Sharon ate several candies, and Cynthia ate the same number of chocolates that were left in Sharon's box. How many chocolates do they have together now? They still have 14 chocolates together. Kimberly inherited an old house from her rich aunt. When the young woman was exploring the cellar, she came across a massive wooden door. She opened it and saw a small room. In that room, there were 3 bags and a note on the floor. One of the bags has $1 million and the others are empty. You can only open one bag, so think carefully. Kimberly also noticed there was a message on each bag. On the first bag it said, "The cash is not here." The message on the second bag was, "The cash is not here." And the message on the third bag claimed, "The cash is in the second bag." If only one message is true, which bag has the money? The money can't be in the second or third bags. If it was so, then 2 messages would be true. It means the money is in the first bag. When you look for something, you always find it in the last place where you search. Why is that? It's always the last place where you look because, after this, there's no need to continue your search. A married couple went on a vacation and asked their neighbor to look after their house. When they returned, the wife found out that she had lost all her expensive jewelry, and it happened because of a power failure, no less. The woman had hidden her jewelry in a supposedly safe place. The house hadn't been burgled. The neighbor was an honest person. The jewelry had disappeared by accident. What happened? The wife hid her jewelry in the freezer in a bag with frozen food. After the power failure, the food got spoiled. The neighbor decided to help and threw away all the bad food from the fridge, along with the jewelry. You're locked in a room with 3 doors. It's safe to walk through any of them, but the doorknobs are the real problem. One of them puts out high voltage. The second is covered with poison. Just 1 drop on your skin and you won't survive. And the third doorknob is so hot it will make your hand burn. What doorknob should you opt for? The second one. You can take off any piece of clothing and open the door with its help. This way you won't touch the doorknob with your bare hand. A woman was hit by a car that sped away right after the accident. When the police arrived, they found several witnesses who described the car. The detective went to the house of one of the suspects. There, he saw a car that looked like the one in the description. But when he questioned its owner, the man claimed he had spent the whole day at home. The detective realized the suspect was lying right away. How? He touched the hood of the car. It was still warm from the engine. I was driving along the highway when one of my tires burst. I stopped to change it, but when I came back to the car, I saw it had a flat battery. I looked around and realized I was in the middle of a small town. I decided to wait for someone who could help me. Suddenly, I heard glass shatter. The night was very dark, so I switched on the headlights and saw a man climbing out of a house. He was carrying a large bag. I got scared and ran to the nearest police station. That was Mr. Darrison's story. The police detective who was listening to him asked, "And where did you hide everything you had stolen from that house?" How did he come to that conclusion? If Mr. Darrison's car battery was flat, how could he switch on the headlights? Dylan was trapped in a basement. The only thing he found inside was a note and a pen. Find the way to get 200 out of 188 with one line, and you'll be free. 5 minutes later, the door opened automatically, and Dylan was free. What did he do? He drew the line to divide 188 horizontally. That way, he got 2 ones and 4 zeros. A woman in a purple dress exclaimed, "I've never been to this store. Cinderella dresses. What kind of name is this?" But many people claim that a woman in purple took all the money from the cash desk while the shop assistant was away and ran out of the store, Detective Smith told the woman. The woman exclaimed, "I was just standing outside when suddenly a woman charged at me. Of course, I got scared and ran away. Then a police officer saw me running and stopped me. I agreed to return to the store, hoping it'd clear up the confusion. Several visitors said I could be the thief, but they weren't sure. Now I know you're the woman who stole the money," the detective said. How did he figure it out? The woman said return to the store, which means she had been there before and lied about the whole situation. Your company produces shoes. You have 2 factories in different cities. The workers of both factories have started to steal shoes. You can't use any additional security, but you have to stop the theft. How can you do it? One factory should start making only left shoes, and the other only right ones. Detective Aaron Bowler participated in a competition organized by a private consultant who came from Europe. Aaron wanted to become the Detective of the Year very much. It was the evening of the last day of the competition. The consultant explained what would happen next. You will all gather in a large room. Once you hear a shot outside, you'll need to rush in and find the criminal. The winner will be the person who will get to them first. You aren't allowed to use any equipment or tools. Several hours passed, and the people in the room started to get nervous. Suddenly, Aaron got up and went to another room. His colleagues asked him where he went, but the guy only answered, "I need to get ready for the chase," and he took a seat without switching on the light. Several minutes later, the detectives heard the shot. Aaron ran outside and was the first to catch the criminal. The consultant gave the man his prize and asked, "What helped you to be the first?" What did Aaron answer? His eyes didn't need to get used to the darkness outside because he had already spent some time in a dark place. Someone stole a rare diamond from Mr. Lauren's house. The police suspect Jack, a notorious burglar. A detective immediately goes to his house, but when Jack finds out the man doesn't have a search warrant, he doesn't let him in. In an hour, the police arrive again, this time with the warrant. They search the entire house but find nothing. They're ready to leave when one of the police officers exclaims, "I know where the diamond is! And have you figured it out too?" When the police first came to Jack, his hair was much shorter. He must be wearing a wig, and the diamond is hidden underneath. On Tuesday afternoon, a man came to the police station. He claimed his car had been stolen. Detective Brown asked the man to show him the place where it had happened. They went to a movie theater. The man said that the day before, he and his wife had come to watch a movie. They left the car in the parking lot, but when the movie was over, the car was gone. After looking around for a couple of minutes, the detective understood who the criminal was. And have you figured it out? There was no theft. The man is lying to get the insurance money. Look, there are no movies on Monday. Maria Walker, a rich businesswoman, collected ancient pieces of art. One day, she managed to buy a priceless Chinese figurine. Maria locked it in a safe in her office and went home. But the next morning, the figurine was gone.
Oh no!
The police have 3 suspects, all of them Ms. Walker's subordinates. The detective asked each of them if they had taken the figurine from the safe. Beverly said she hadn't been to the office since Monday. Ralph said, "I don't know how to open safes, and I'm not interested in Chinese art." And Vincent said he had been to Ms. Walker's office after her departure, but he only took some documents he needed. Who is the thief? It's Ralph. Otherwise, how would he know the figurine was Chinese? A man wearing a hat, a bandana covering his face, and dark sunglasses robbed a bank. The police have 3 suspects. Look at them and try to figure out which one is the criminal. Usually, people tie bandanas under their ears, but in this case, the bandana covers the ears, probably hiding something that distinguishes the man from other people. The criminal must be the man with a large earring. Jesse Harris was a pilot. Once there was an emergency during a flight. Jesse had to land the plane right on the highway. Luckily, he was a skilled professional and no one was hurt. But Jesse himself hit his head and lost his memory. When he climbed out of the plane, 2 women ran toward him. Both of them claimed he was her husband. Can you figure out who's telling the truth? The woman on the left is a robot. Look, there's a USB port in her neck. Mary was a college teacher. It was the beginning of a new school year, and 3 new students joined the class. When Mary saw them, she immediately realized something was off about one of them. Who? It's the guy in the middle. He doesn't have a shadow. Logan worked as a security officer on a small cruise ship. One day, during a severe storm, he found Mr. Lewis lying on the deck. When the man came to his senses, he said someone had hit him on the head and taken his wallet. Logan had 3 suspects. He visited them in their cabins. Linda told him she was feeling queasy because of seasickness. She couldn't even get up from her bed. Denise said she had been watching a movie on her smartphone. And Philip said he had been writing a letter to his wife. Logan immediately understood who had hit Mr. Lewis. Do you know it? It was Philip. Look at his letter. The handwriting is immaculate, but it's impossible to write so accurately during a storm. Kayla went on a business trip. She didn't have time to tell her boyfriend about her plans, so she left him a note with clues. In it, the woman wrote, "I'm in the city that is 3 of 7 chicken, 2 of 3 cat, and 1 of 2 goat. I'll be here for a week. Come visit me." Do you know where Kayla's boyfriend should go? To Chicago. Yeah. Look at these guys carefully. Can you tell which one has drawn the graffiti? It's the guy on the left. He has some spray paint on his hoodie. Alan was driving along a small country road when he saw that someone had crashed their car into a tree. A moment later, he spotted a man running toward him. "Help me, please! I was moving rather slowly when a truck suddenly cut me off. I lost control of my car and crashed into a tree." Alan gave the man a lift to the police station in the nearest town. They found the truck driver surprisingly fast. He was right near the doors of the police station. But the man denied cutting the smaller car off. He claimed he was going to the police to report the accident. Suddenly, Alan realized who was lying. Have you figured it out? Look at the tire tracks. It's obvious that those left by the truck go over the ones left by the car. It means the truck couldn't have cut the smaller car off, and its driver is lying. Several police officers were called to a hotel. One of the employees was found unconscious on the floor. The police checked the cameras to figure out what had happened. They didn't see the criminal, but now they had 3 suspects, all of them hotel guests. Sarah said, "I heard some noise, but I stayed in my room because I was scared." James told the police he had been outside. He was trying to catch a taxi to go sightseeing. And Damien said he had been sleeping at home at the time of the accident. Who is lying? Damien. He's a hotel guest. Then how could he be at home sleeping? Beverly was making dinner in the kitchen when she heard glass shatter. She rushed to the living room and saw the window broken. Someone had thrown a stone that was now lying in the middle of the room. Beverly called the police, but they didn't manage to figure out who the culprit was. The next day, when Beverly came home from work, she saw something on her doormat. It was a note. Williamson was the surname of Beverly's neighbors. There were 3 teenagers in that family: Mark, Roy, and Natalie. Which one broke the window? It was Mark. The note says, Williamson. Bruce owned a large store that sold expensive designer items. Recently, there have been several thefts there. The man asked his friend Gabriel, who was a police detective, to check what was going on. Gabriel spent 2 hours in the store. When he left it, he knew who the thief was and who was guilty of these crimes. The thief was the detective himself. He easily stole a pair of costly sunglasses to prove that the store security was very bad. That's the reason for so many thefts. One of these young women has a dog. Can you tell which one? It's the girl on the left. Her pooch has torn her sneakers. When Amy entered the office, she noticed that her colleague Emma was very upset. It was just the beginning of the workday, but someone had already stolen her purse. Only those who worked in the company could get into the office. Amy started her own investigation. Jenna, who worked in IT, said she had been fixing somebody's computer. Joanna, the secretary, answered she'd been on the phone with some clients. James, the sales manager, said, "I've been in a 3-hour-long meeting. I'm exhausted." Amy knew right away who had taken the purse. Can you figure it out? It's James. The working day has just started. How could he be in such a long meeting? There are 2 towns near each other. People who always tell the truth live in one of them. Liars live in the other. The inhabitants of the towns often visit each other. What question should you ask a passerby to find out which town you're in? Ask them, "Are you a guest here?" If they answer yes, you're in the town of liars. If they say no, you're in the town where honest people live. When it's raining, the cat is either in the room or in the basement. When the cat is in the room, the mouse is in the burrow and the cheese is in the fridge. If the cheese is on the table and the cat is in the basement, the mouse is in the room. Right now, it's raining and the cheese is on the table. Where are the cat and the mouse? The cat can be in 2 places, either in the room or in the basement. But at the moment, the cat can't be in the room because the cheese is not in the fridge, it's on the table. It means the cat is in the basement. And since the cheese is on the table and the cat is in the basement, the mouse must be in the room. Dora was on her way to work. When she was passing by a dark alley, she heard a loud scream. The woman came a bit closer to check it out. Someone was shouting, "Help! Help me!" But as soon as Dora saw the alley, she immediately called the police and ran away. Why? It was a trap. There were 2 kinds of footprints going into the alley, but no footprints coming out. A famous rich businessman got sick. He needed a professional doctor and was ready to pay a lot of money. Many fake doctors applied, hoping to get that amount. Take a look at their resumes and tell which doctor is the real one. It says that Mr. Robert Greene was born on November 31st, but this date doesn't exist. There are just 30 days in November, so this resume must be fake. As for Dr. Matthias Johnson, there's no city mentioned in the place of birth, only the state. If I were that rich gentleman, I'd definitely pick the first candidate. Leslie lived in a house where she wasn't allowed to have any pets. But one day, she found a cute, lonely dog that didn't have an owner. She couldn't resist and took it home. A few weeks later, the house owner knocked on her door. Leslie hid the dog and opened the door. Still, the owner instantly knew that she was keeping a dog. How did he know? She forgot to hide the dog's food. A huge pack is still in her room. Tatum got messages from 3 different guys who wanted to go out with her: Zion, Toby, and Brick. She loved reading, especially detective stories, and she told that to each of the guys. Can you guess which of the guys lied to her based on their responses? Zion: "Sure, I absolutely love detective stories. My grandpa knew Sherlock Holmes himself." Toby: "Same. Last year I read 200 books and most were detective stories." Brick: "Wow, that's awesome. My mom owns a bookstore in New York and she always brings me books, so I love reading too." Zion was lying. Sherlock Holmes is a book character and he never existed in real life, so his grandpa couldn't possibly know him. Eloise was having a birthday party. She invited 3 people over and got 3 presents: a pair of gloves, a bag of makeup, and sunglasses. However, Eloise didn't like one of the presents. Can you guess which one and why? She didn't like the pair of gloves. Both of them are right-handed. 3 zombie girls are chasing Jake. One of them is his ex-girlfriend. Can you tell which one? Take a closer look at Jake's shoulder. He has a tattoo that says J+L. These must be the first letters of his and his girlfriend's names. If you take another closer look, you can see that zombie girl B has a tag attached to her leg saying Lucy. It must be her name, and it starts exactly with an L. So, Zombie B must be his ex. Esme went for a walk in the woods and got lost. She's been wandering around until she approached the witch's house. She pet her cat and asked if the witch can send her home. The witch agreed to let Esme go if the girl guessed her name. Luckily, there was a hint. The capital of Romania, the capital of Oman, the capital of Spain, and the capital of Egypt. Esme got it right. Can you guess what the witch's name is? Romania has only one capital letter, and it's R. The capital letter of Oman is O. Spain gives us S, and from Egypt we get E. So it seems like the witch's name is Rose. Right before a restaurant was about to open, somebody stole all the money from the office. A detective arrived for interrogation. A cook said he was working hard and didn't have time to walk or gaze around, so he didn't see anything. The security guy said that he was in the bathroom and didn't steal anything. The waiter said that he saw one visitor going to the office, but somehow didn't realize that wasn't okay and didn't stop him. The waiter was arrested for stealing the money. Why? The restaurant was closed, and there couldn't have been any visitors inside. Indiana wanted to make her mom the best birthday present ever, but had 0 ideas. So she decided to break into her mom's computer to see what she had in her online shopping cart. Her mom's computer required a password, and Indiana didn't know it. Luckily, there was a hint: 914491141. Can you guess what the password is? Each letter is the number of a respective letter in the alphabet. 9th letter is I. Letter number 14 is N. Number 4 is D. 9th is I again. The first one is A, the 14th is N, and then A again. So the password is Indiana. Emma, Maeve, and David like apple juice. Anna, Layla, and Ava like orange juice. Following the same logic, what kind of juice does Atlas prefer? Emma, Maeve, and David have just one letter A in their names, so they're grouped together. Anna, Layla, and Ava have two A's in their names. Atlas has two A's in the name, so she prefers orange juice. William was on vacation in Thailand. One day, he met a beautiful girl there and approached her. He asked her on a date, and the girl agreed to go out with him if William guessed her name. Since she really liked him too, she gave him a hint. My name is 2/7 of Germany, 2/5 of Nepal, 2/9 of Singapore, and 1/5 of Spain. Can you guess what the girl's name is? 2/7 of Germany means 2 out of 7 letters in the word Germany, which are GE. 2/5 of Nepal gives us NE. 2/9 of Singapore adds up to SI, and 1/5 of Spain is S. So the girl's name is Genesis. The police have been looking for the person who robbed the city bank. They figured he'd try to leave the country, so they arrived at the airport and started questioning the people. One man, Bryce, said that he was a geography teacher going on his vacation to Germany, Poland, and Wonderland. Another suspect, Savannah, said she was a model going to Italy for a photo shoot. Max, a student, said that he was going home to Ukraine for the semester break. Can you tell who the robber is? It's Bryce. Wonderland is a fictional country. If he really were a geography teacher, he'd know that it doesn't exist. Annika woke up and found out that she wasn't in her room, but in some dungeon. She tried to open the door, but it required a password. The hint said SMTWT. Can you guess the following 2 letters? This is the sequence of the first letters of weekdays. S for Sunday, M for Monday, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It means that the final 2 are F and S, Friday and Saturday. Mrs. Lawrence had 3 teenage daughters, Serenity, Kennedy, and Autumn. They were all grounded and couldn't leave the house. However, one of the neighbors reported that they've seen one of the girls at the mall but couldn't tell which one. Mrs. Lawrence came home and asked the girls what they were doing. Serenity said that she was reading all day. Kennedy said that she was watching a movie in her room and never left the house. Autumn said that she had spent the day in the garden. Mrs. Lawrence immediately knew who lied. Can you tell? Look, Kennedy and Autumn have dirty shoes. That's okay for Autumn because she said she'd been in the garden. Kennedy said that she'd never left her room, so her shoes can't possibly be that dirty. She must have lied. Dakota got in a car accident and was suffering from memory loss. She was a popular girl at school, and everyone wanted to be friends with her. Since Dakota couldn't remember who her friends were, one of the girls decided to pretend she was her bestie. On Monday, 3 girls visited Dakota. Ava brought her some snacks and chocolates. Nova got her earrings that Dakota had wanted to buy. Arden made her a friendship bracelet and brought a movie. Can you tell which girl isn't Dakota's friend? It's Nova. She got her earrings, but Dakota's ears aren't even pierced, so she couldn't have wanted to get them. Can you tell which werewolf is real here? Werewolves only turn from a person into a wolf at night and when it's the full moon. On the left, it's a day, so the person can't turn into a werewolf. It must be a costume. On the right, it's night, but there's no full moon, so the person shouldn't look like this as well. In the middle, everything seems normal. It's night, it's full moon, and the person has turned into a werewolf. It must be the one. Can you tell who's a real mermaid here? The second one is a guy, so he definitely isn't a mermaid. The girl on the right is chilling in the sun, and she's out of the water. Mermaids wouldn't do that because they dry out in the sun. So the real mermaid must be the one on the left. Take a look at these three people. Can you recognize the real vampire? If you look closely at the first one, he's wearing a silver chain. Real vampires can't stand silver, so this must be fake. The girl in the middle is wearing a silver bracelet, so she doesn't fit either. But the third vampire seems to be valid, at least at first sight. A teenage girl, Skylar, got poisoned after school, and Detective Callum had to solve the case. He interrogated the classmates, and one girl said that she saw another girl, Ayla, adding something to Skylar's water bottle. However, no one else has seen it. He talked to Ayla's boyfriend, who said that she was with him after school. Another witness was a guy working at a cafe who saw Ayla and her boyfriend there and even showed pictures from the security camera. Still, Ayla was arrested for poisoning Skylar. Why? Take a look at the picture of Ayla. She has a tattoo on her left arm. However, in the security pictures, the girl who was in the cafe with Ayla's boyfriend has a tattoo on her right arm. Turned out, Ayla had a twin sister no one knew about, who covered up for her.
One night, a gang of thieves were stealing boxes with electronics from a warehouse. They were carrying them to their van when they heard a police car siren. And still, even though the thieves didn't manage to avoid the police, they didn't get arrested. Why? They started to carry the boxes back into the warehouse, pretending to be a late-night delivery. You need to take 2 apples from your garden and bring them to your friend, but she lives on the other bank of the river. To get to her house, you have to cross a bridge. It can hold your weight and the weight of 1 apple. If you try to step on the bridge with 2 apples, it'll collapse into the water, which is swarming with piranhas. What can you do to bring your friend 2 apples if you can only make 1 trip? You should cross the bridge while juggling the apples. When is 1,893 and 2,548 smaller than 498? When they are years BCE. Susan worked in a clothing store that sold expensive designer items. One day, she discovered that someone had stolen a pair of pants. Look at the people who were inside at that time. Try to figure out who the thief is. It's the guy on the right. If you look attentively at his legs, you'll see the pants peeping out from under his jeans. A mad researcher caught Eric. He told the man, "I'll let you go if you jump from a 30-foot tall ladder and remain unhurt." Eric thought a bit and did just that. How did he manage to avoid injuries? He jumped from the bottom stair. Detective Michael Brown went missing while investigating a tricky case. His friend, Detective Williams, found out that one of their colleagues was behind his disappearance. Williams visited Brown's home, and his friend's wife gave him a note. "Michael told me to give it to you if something happened to him." In the note, there were 4 numbers, 2, 8, 6, 7. Williams started to question his colleagues. "I've been away visiting my parents," said Tess. Jack said, "I haven't seen Brown for a couple of days." And Nora replied, "I'm just a trainee. Detective Brown gave me a task and I was busy doing it." Williams thought for a while, looked at the note again, and understood who was guilty. It was Tess. 2867. The first letters of these numbers make up her name. When Ashley came home in the evening, she noticed that the living room window was broken. She got angry. Her husband must have practiced his favorite soccer moves inside again. But the man said, "I was sitting on the sofa watching a soccer match. Suddenly, a ball hit the window from the outside and broke the glass." He showed his wife the soccer ball he was talking about. But Ashley came to the window and immediately realized her husband was lying. How? The woman saw that the glass was on the ground outside the house. But if someone outside had kicked the ball and it had broken the glass, the shards would be inside the room. 3 tortoises are having a walk in the park. One of them says, "2 tortoises are following me." The second tortoise says, "1 tortoise is moving in front of me and 1 is behind me." And the third tortoise says, "2 tortoises are traveling in front of me and 1 is behind me." How is it possible? The tortoises are moving in a circle. Stephen had a storeroom in his house. It got locked with a special padlock which could be closed without a key, but to open it, Stephen had to use one. The only person who had the key was Stephen. There were no duplicates. The man locked the door carefully every evening. But one day, a golden brooch was found lying in the middle of his storeroom. It had been stolen from the museum the day before. The police suspected that Stephen was the thief because no one else had the key and the man lived alone. Stephen knew for sure he was innocent, but then how did the brooch appear in the room? While Stephen was in the storeroom, the real criminal changed the padlock. Stephen didn't need the key to lock it. That's why he didn't realize the padlock had been changed. Later, the thief opened the lock with his own key and left the brooch inside the room. Look at these 2 detectives standing on a wooden board. Which of them is smarter? The one on the left. He can keep his balance by standing in the middle of the wooden board. But the other detective can easily fall down. Once, a dance studio owner found Dylan, one of the instructors, lying on the floor in one of the rooms. Someone had hit the man on the head. The police questioned the dance studio workers and visitors and found 3 suspects. Chloe, a regular, said she hadn't visited the studio for several days. She had a couple days off and spent them sunbathing on the beach. Ethan, another instructor, told the police his friend had called him and asked for help. That's why he had left the studio before Dylan came to work. Layla, Dylan's girlfriend, told the police they had quarreled earlier in the morning, but after that, she didn't see Dylan. The police officers understood right away who was behind the attack. It was Chloe. She said she had spent several days on the beach, but her skin was extremely pale. There are 4 floors in a hotel. The higher the floor, the more people stay there. Which floor does the elevator visit most frequently? The first floor. People from all the floors go there. A billionaire's wife called the police at 8 a.m. on Sunday morning. She said she found her husband unconscious in his study. A baseball bat was lying next to him on the floor. The police questioned everyone who lived in the house. The wife said she had been away, buying her husband a present for their 10th wedding anniversary. The driver said he had left the evening before. He went to his parents' house because they needed some help. And the cook said he'd been preparing breakfast since 6 a.m. and hadn't left the kitchen. Who's lying? The wife. Stores aren't likely to be open so early on Sunday morning. You've got 9 coins. One of them is fake, and it weighs a bit less than the others. You've also got a pair of scales, and you're about to do 2 weighings. How can you figure out which coin isn't real? The first weighing, 3 coins and 3 coins. If one of these piles weighs less, the fake coin is there. If they have the same weight, the fake coin is in the third pile. The second weighing, take 2 coins out of the pile with the smallest weight. The lighter one is fake. If their weight is equal, the fake coin is the third one. Kevin woke up in a hospital. He only remembered his name and nothing else. A doctor came in to check on the guy. He said 3 young women were waiting to see Kevin. The women came in. Strangely, each of them had claimed she was the guy's sister. Only one of them is telling the truth. Who is it? It's the one in the middle. She has a birthmark on her hand, and Kevin has the same. Brenda promised her friend Larry to write an essay for their Friday lecture, but she had one condition. I'll help you if you increase 86 by 12 without adding anything to this number. Larry was able to do it. How? He wrote 86 on a piece of paper, turned it upside down, and he got 98. You're at home when your friends suddenly drop by. In your fridge, you only have a bottle of soda, some orange juice, and a bottle of water. What will you open first? The door of your fridge. 5 cats need 5 minutes to catch 5 mice. How much time does one cat need to catch 1 mouse? The same time, 5 minutes. Amanda was going through a deserted park when someone hit her on the head. When she recovered, her bag, along with her phone, money, and documents were gone. There were no people around except for one elderly lady. Amanda rushed towards her, explained the situation, and asked to call the police. The lady told her not to worry and started to press 911 on her phone. After talking for a minute, she said, "They're going to be here in no time." As soon as Amanda heard these words, she sprinted off. Why? Amanda saw the lady's phone didn't have any signal. Then how could she call the police? A glass jar is standing on the table so that part of it is in the air. In half an hour, the jar will fall to the floor. Why? What's inside the jar? Inside the jar, there's some ice, but its weight is distributed in such a way that the jar is balanced. Once the ice melts and turns into water, the jar will fall. Today, I'm going to test your attention to detail with short but tricky puzzles. Do you have what it takes to find all the oddities in them? Let's check. You can see 2 women in the elevator. One works in this building, while the other came here for an interview. Can you guess which one works here? The woman on the right has a name tag on her jacket, while the one on the left has none. Can you spot an odd pineapple here? It's this one in the corner. It has 3 leaves, while all the rest have 4. Okay, let's make it harder this time. Do you notice anything weird in this picture? Hurry up! A tap coming right out of the tree doesn't look right, and a purple coconut looks sort of off, right? You've got 3 desserts before you, but only one of them is safe to eat. Can you choose the right one? The strawberries with whipped cream may seem delicious, but those tiny flies scream that this dessert is off. Next, you've got a muffin, but there's a worm in the cherries on top of that muffin. So, ice cream is the safest option. Now let's see how sharp your eyes are. How many numbers can you see? The numbers on the screen are 1, 2, 3, 7, 5, 0, 8, 6, 9. Look at these 3 paintings and try to tell which one is fake. The second one. It's labeled as having been painted in 1950, but there's a lion looking at a smartphone in it. How could there be smartphones back then? You're lost in the woods, cold, and so very hungry. Suddenly, you walk out to a clearing where you see 3 cozy-looking houses. Check your survivor's instinct. Which one do you think is safe to enter? The house on the left has a big lock on its door, and its windows are boarded up. There's just no way you can get in. The second house looks safe at first glance, but look at the snow. Bare footprints are leading to its porch. It wouldn't be nice to become a dinner for a hungry bear now, so your safest bet would be the third house. Who's not very smart out of these 2 guys? Well, giving your cat a wash from time to time isn't that bad, although the kitty sure wouldn't like it, so the guy on the left is doing fine. As for the one on the right, look at the pet food package in his hands. He's giving his dog cat's food. This stuff shouldn't be confused. Can you spot what's wrong with this image? The woman sitting in the armchair has 2 different slippers on her feet. The painting on the wall seems to be from 2 different time periods at once. There's a Victorian-era man with a digital camera hanging from a strap on his neck. Which of these 3 pictures has something wrong in it? The second one. The girl in it is eating her soup with a fork. One of the kids in the picture snuck out of the bedroom through the window at night and came back. Who was it? The one in the lower right corner still has their shoes on. One of these people going abroad is suspicious. Who? The woman on the right is going to Indonesia, but she's got a warm coat and a scarf packed in her suitcase. Are you willing to bet who's going to win in this rope pulling contest? If you placed your bet on the right-hand team, you've got it. There's more than one person on their side. They're just hidden outside the frame. Can you figure out how many interviews this guy already attended this month? Oh, no. He's done 5 out of 6. There are 6 post-it notes on the calendar, but a little movable square indicates the current date is on the 26th. His next interview is on the 28th. This room has something wrong, but I can't see it. Can you? There's a bird in the fish tank. Which hand is the odd one out? It's the third one, the only right hand here. The rest are lefts. There are 3 people in the science lab, but one of them is not who they want the others to believe they are. Who is it? It's the guy on the right. He's wearing a fake ID badge on his lab coat. This hall is full of extravagantly dressed guests, but one of them is more extravagant than the rest. They're a ghost. Can you spot them? Look at the woman on the left. Her feet are almost transparent. She must be the ghost. This one will require both your observation skills and logic. Which of the 2 teapots can hold more tea? The one on the left is taller, but the one on the right is broader, so they can hold an equal amount of tea. Still, the taller one also has its nose at the same level as the broader one, which won't allow it to be filled to the brim, so the right teapot can hold more tea. Which one of these 3 people came to this cafe not alone? It's the girl behind the table in the middle. She has 2 cups of tea in front of her. One of these 3 partygoers has recently escaped prison and hasn't gotten rid of all the evidence. Can you figure out who it is? It's the guy on the right. He still has handcuffs hanging from one of his hands. An art exhibition owner has sold a painting to a private collector. He said it was a work of an unknown 18th century artist. But the next day, the disgruntled buyer returned the picture to the exhibition owner and demanded his money back. Can you tell why by looking at the picture? Well, there shouldn't be an airplane in the painting if it was genuinely from the 18th century. Someone broke into a house in a rich neighborhood and got away with a lot of valuables. The police had a suspect and stopped by his home. The suspect said he hadn't left his home since the day before, but the police officers knew he was lying. Can you guess why? Look at the helmet on the bike's handlebar. It's upside down. Since it was raining so hard, it would have been already filled with water to the brim if it hadn't been hanging like this since the day before. A police officer approached a man sitting in a car parked next to a hotel's front door and issued a parking ticket. The man was outraged, saying he'd been there for no more than 2 minutes, and the sign said 5 minutes of staying was allowed. Still, the officer was adamant that the man wasn't telling the truth. Why? There had been a heavy snowfall and just too much snow on the man's car hood and roof. If he had arrived just 2 minutes before, the snow would have been blown away by the wind or melted. There are 3 passports before you, but only 2 of them are real. Which one is fake and why? The right one is fake. Passport photos should be taken against a white background, and this one has something else in it. Which of these 2 people here is asking for trouble? Surfing is not the safest of sports, but if this girl is a professional surfer, she's fine. The man with loud music coming out of his speaker isn't safe though. Loud sounds such as shouting or music can cause an avalanche in the mountains. Jason says he's just returned from a trip to Antarctica and he's showing his friends photographs taken there. They seem alright, but one of Jason's friends thinks he's lying. Why? Look at Jason's face. He has tan lines from the sunglasses. I have a math workout for you today, but first, let's have a little warm-up. How many ducks do you see in this picture? Don't forget about the hidden ones. There are 15 ducks. Did you find them all? Okay, now count all the flowers. Right, there are 17 of them. Can you spot 3 differences between these photos? Here they are. And another one. There are 3 differences again. Do you see them? Okay, here they are. Good job. Okay, now a bit of math for you. Look at this picture. The only number multiplied by itself that gives 25 is 5, so this shape equals 5. This way, the other shape from the second equation is 4. 4 and 6 make 10, so the red circle equals 6. Then, 5 multiplied by 6 gives us 30. This one is similar, but a bit harder, so be very attentive. Okay, 3 pairs of sneakers make 30. Then 1 pair equals 10. Then 1 cat with a whistle must be 5. In this case, 2 whistles equal 4, so 1 whistle is 2. Now the last one. A pair of sneakers is 10. We know that a cat with a whistle is 5, but this kitty doesn't have a whistle. But since a whistle is 2, the cat without a whistle must be 3. And a whistle equals 2. So, it's 10 plus 3 multiplied by 2, which is 16. Ava and Dakota are sisters. When Dakota was 18, Ava was half her age. Now that Dakota is 26, how old is Ava? When Dakota was 18, Ava was 9, so the age difference between the sisters is 9 years. If Dakota is 26 now, then Ava is 17. When Polaris was 16 years old, her mother was 39. If Polaris's mom is twice her daughter's age, how old is Polaris? The age difference between Polaris and her mother is 23 years. That means now, Polaris is 23 and her mom is 46. Yvonne had a big collection of CDs. One day, she decided to clean up her house and counted that she had 172 CDs. She sold them all except for 7 CDs of her favorite singer and 5 CDs of her favorite band. How many CDs does Yvonne have now? Well, if she gave up all but 7 plus 5, it leaves her with 12 CDs. In PE class, all students were standing in a circle. If the 5th student was exactly opposite the 12th student, how many students were in the circle? Between student number 5 and student number 12, there are 6 other students. If these two are opposite each other, then on the other side between them, there are also 6 students. This makes 14 students in the circle. Danica owns a candy store. She sells candy for $0.12 a dozen. How many candy pieces can you get if you have $1? $0.12 for a dozen mean that one candy costs 1 cent. So if you have $1, you can get 100 candies. For casting a spell, Flora should put these stones in the correct order. She has 4 of them: purple, green, red, and blue. The instruction says, 1. The red one only has 1 stone next to it. 2. The green and purple stones aren't next to each other. 3. The green stone is the last one. Can you help Flora? If the red stone only has one other stone next to it, then it's either the first one or the last one. But since green is the last one, then red is the first one. If the green and purple stones aren't next to each other, then there's the blue stone between them. So, the correct order is red, purple, blue, and green. It was midday. Kaylin was exploring a big local forest. She found an abandoned mansion and entered it. The door closed behind her back and wouldn't open.
Oh no!
Kaylin got trapped inside. There were 3 other doors leading to freedom, but there was a catch. Behind the first door, there was a huge pit that would take her miles underground. Behind the second door, there was a magnifying glass that concentrated sunlight and burned everybody and everything that entered. Behind the third door, there was a hungry and dangerous lion that would eat anybody and anything that entered.
Uh-oh.
How can Kaylin escape? Kaylin should wait until sunset. When the sun goes down, the second door with the magnifying glass won't be dangerous anymore. Amelia, Belle, Chloe, and Della are identical quadruplets who always prank people. One day, one of the girls' teachers had to let Amelia leave the class early. She had a doctor's appointment, but the woman wasn't sure which girl was Amelia. The quadruplets had decided to help her. Here is what they said. Amelia is one of the girls standing in the middle. No, Amelia is one of the girls standing on the sides. I'm Amelia. I'm not Amelia. 3 girls lied and 1 told the truth. Who is Amelia? If Amelia is the first girl, then 2 girls told the truth, the second and the fourth ones. If Amelia is the second girl, then the first and the fourth girls told the truth. If Amelia is the third girl, then the first and the third ones told the truth. But if Amelia is the fourth girl, then only the second girl told the truth. So, Amelia must be the fourth girl. Esme was having a walk in the forest and got lost. She found a witch's house, petted her black cat, and asked the witch to send her home. The witch wanted to play a game. If Esme won, she'd send her home. But if Esme lost, she'd have to stay with the witch forever.
We'll be saying numbers between 1 and 10. The next player will have to choose a number that's between 1 to 10 greater than the previous one. The first person to say 50 wins. You can start.
How can Esme win? If she wants to say 50, she needs the witch to say a number between 40 and 49. So, before 50, she has to say 39. If she wants to say 39, the witch has to say a number between 29 and 38. So, Esme has to say 28, and before that, 17, and before that, 6. So Esme must start with 6 and then say 17, 28, 39, and 50. Cassidy woke up in a dungeon and couldn't remember what happened to her. She needed to get out, but the door was locked and required a password. Can you guess what the password is? Every next number is made by moving the last digit of the previous 4 to the front. So, the password must be 4728. Mrs. Davies is an elderly lady telling a story of her life.
After I lived 1/4 of my life, I got my first car. I married 1/12 of my life later. 1/6 of my life later, I started a business. 1/4 of my life later, I got my first granddaughter. She just turned 18.
How old is Mrs. Davies? Let's say Mrs. Davies is X years old. 1/4 of her life, till she gets her first car, X is 4. Then we add 12 till her marriage. X till opening her business, 4 till the birth of her granddaughter, and finally 18 years from then till now. It should all be equal to X. If you solve this equation, you'll figure out that X is equal to 72. So, Mrs. Davies must be 72 years old. Esme was walking in the forest, and you know what? She didn't get lost this time. She knew how to get home, but the other road led to the witch's house, and the girl recently came up with a cool riddle for the witch. So, Esme decided to pay her a visit. She offered a deal. If the witch couldn't solve her riddle, Esme would get her cat. The witch agreed, and Esme gave her a square piece of paper, 4 inches by 4 inches, with a total area of 16 square inches.
Turn it into a square with a total area of 8 square inches without a ruler.
How can the witch do it? The witch should fold the 4 corners of the square towards the middle. This way, she'll get a square that is exactly twice as small as the original one. Apparently, the witch gets to keep her cat this time. There's a box filled with balls of different colors, 5 red ones, 8 blue ones, and 11 purple ones. Allison has a tricky task. Blindfolded, she has to keep picking up balls until she's sure that she has balls of at least 2 different colors. What's the minimum number of balls she should pull out of the box? In the worst-case scenario, Allison will be picking up balls of the same color until there are no more of them left in the box. The majority of balls are purple, so if she picks up a purple ball every single time, it'll be 11 balls. And only after that will she get a ball of a different color. So, she should pick up 12 balls. Several birds landed on trees. 1 bird for 1 tree. But in this case, one of them didn't have a tree of its own. Then they regrouped, with 2 birds sitting on 1 tree. After this, 1 tree was left. How many birds and trees are there? There are 4 birds and 3 trees. Look at these 4 people in a grocery store. Can you figure out who's going to steal a watermelon? It's the man with a soccer ball. It seems as if he's holding something heavy. It must be the watermelon disguised as a soccer ball. You wake up and find yourself in a locked room without windows and only 1 door. You look around and notice a table. There's a piece of paper, a knife, and several inflated balloons lying on it. You pick up the note. It reads, "To get out of here, you must puncture a balloon with a knife. But if the balloon bursts, you'll stay here forever." What should you do to make a hidden door open in one of the walls? You should deflate one of the balloons. After that, you can easily puncture it with a knife. You're walking along the beach and spot an expensive-looking watch in the sand. There are only 3 other people on the beach. Who does the watch belong to? This guy's watch is in his pocket. The tan line on this girl's wrist doesn't match the shape of the watch. The watch must belong to this elderly lady. You've got a sack filled with coffee beans. You need to use this coffee to completely fill 2 other sacks of the same size. How do you do it? Put one empty sack into the other and fill them with coffee. 3 young men came to a coffee shop to prepare for their final exam. A waiter came up to them and asked, "Does everyone want coffee?" The first guy said, "I don't know." The second man answered, "Nah, I don't know." And the third one answered, yes. Can you figure out what the first two guys ordered? All young men ordered coffee. Each of them wanted to have this drink, but the first two couldn't know if it would be everyone's choice. If the first two guys hadn't wanted coffee, they'd have simply said no. So when the third guy heard his friend's replies, he figured out that both of them wanted coffee. And since he was going to get a cup, he said yes. You have to think outside the box to crack this one. 1 is to 3 as 3 is to 5, and 5 is to 4. And 4 is the magic number. Can you figure out the pattern? The word 1 has 3 letters, the word 3 has 5, and the word 5 has 4 letters. But the word 4 has 4 letters in it, and whatever number you try, eventually you'll come back to 4, and the game will end there. Vincent got locked in a room with no windows and only one massive door. There's a panel with several buttons on the left and another one with a hint on it on the right. There's also a clock on the wall above the door. Which button should Vincent press to get out of the trap? The green triangle. The numbers on the panel represent hours. If you connect them on the clock face, you'll get a triangle. Add this number to the same one and multiply the result by 4. Then divide it by 8 and you'll have the very first number again. What number is it? It can be any number. You can try it out to make sure. Look at these women attentively. Which one seems to be suspicious? It's the one on the right. The woman on the left was just adding some ketchup to her dish. See that bottle? But look at the pie the woman on the right is holding. There's a smartphone peeking out of the pie. What's it doing there? It's very suspicious. The police knocked on Michael's door late in the evening. They had a search warrant. They accused the man of stealing a big sum of money from a supermarket. Mike claimed that he hadn't left the house all day, but one of the detectives saw something in his living room, and it led to the man's arrest. What was it? Look at the date on the receipt lying on the table. It's the same as the date on the calendar, which means Michael lied about not leaving his house that day. Look at these guys attentively. Can you tell which one has drawn the graffiti? It's the guy on the left. He has some spray paint on his hoodie. An ant is 2 inches away from its home. With every next step, it covers half the distance to the entrance. How many steps will the insect have to take to reach its destination? The ant will never reach the door because every time it'll travel only half the distance. Now, how about solving some rebus riddles? This is the first one for you. High, 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 high. That's high five. The next one, noon good. What's this? That's how you greet people. Good afternoon. Okay, now try this one. Way, progress. It's progress underway. Now let's check how attentive you are. Try to figure out what's wrong in the following images. There's no way anyone can wear those blue shoes. They're both left ones. How about this one? This horse looks rather natural among kangaroos, but it doesn't belong there. What's wrong in this picture? Why would a barn have a chimney? I suspect something is missing in this picture. Can you figure out what exactly? The bus doesn't have side mirrors and windshield wipers. Detective Lucas was called to investigate an accident. A car crashed into a store window and smashed the glass. There are two suspects. Both of them deny their involvement. Detective Lucas doesn't need much time to figure out who the culprit is. Do you know the answer too? It's the owner of the blue car. The pattern on its tires is the same as in front of the store. Detective Brown was having her morning coffee in a cafe when she heard a car screeching to a halt, then some loud shouting. She ran outside and spotted a man on the ground. His bicycle was lying nearby. There was also a car sitting next to the man. Detective Brown helped the cyclist up. The car driver came up to them. The cyclist exclaimed, "He hit my bike with his car, making me crash." But the driver answered, "I saw him losing control of his bike in the mirror. I left my car to check on him." Detective Brown immediately understood who was lying. Can you figure it out? Strangely, the car doesn't have side mirrors, and all that stuff in the back seat blocks the view of the road, so the driver couldn't have seen anything in his rearview mirror either. He's lying. A man wearing a hat, a bandana covering his face, and dark sunglasses robbed a bank. The police have 3 suspects. Look at them and try to figure out which one is the criminal. Usually, people tie bandanas under their ears. But in this case, the bandana covers the robber's ears. It probably hides something that distinguishes the man from other people. The criminal must be that man with only one ear. When Louisa entered the office, she noticed that her colleague Anna was very upset. It was the beginning of the working day, but someone had already stolen her purse. Only those who worked in the company could get into the office. Louisa questioned her colleagues. Maria, who worked in IT, said she'd been fixing somebody's computer. Jane, the secretary, answered she'd been on the phone with some clients. Andrew, a sales manager, said,
I've just returned from a 3-hour-long meeting. I'm exhausted.
Can you figure out who took the purse? Andrew, the working day's just started. How could he come back from such a long meeting? There was an incident in a secret laboratory. One of the scientists released a substance that turned people into vampires. Detective Reed arrived at the scene to interview 3 witnesses. The first scientist, Michael, said,
I stopped by the lab this morning to pick up some notes. The machines were working just fine, and I didn't see anyone. I took the papers and left.
The second scientist, Lindsay, said, I closed the lab at night. One of the PCs was faulty, but I was very tired and decided to leave it till the morning. Unfortunately, I overslept. And the third scientist, Jennifer, said,
I got up early and went to the lab to check the devices. No one seems to have entered the room. I fixed one of the computers and left.
Which one of them was lying? Michael is lying. One of the computers was actually faulty, and Jennifer spent the whole morning fixing it. If Michael had walked into the lab, he would have known about it, or Jennifer would have noticed him. So he must have entered the lab after the others had already left. But why would someone release such a dangerous substance? Michael didn't want to confess, so Detective Reed decided to investigate the crime scene to find out who was behind this. Take a look at this picture. Is there anything suspicious? It looks like Michael dropped an ID card. And look, it doesn't belong to him. The name on the card is George Wilson. Let's ask him about the incident. Detective Reed went to Mr. Wilson's office to ask him about the incident.
Oh yeah, I gave my pass to Michael,
Mr. Wilson said.
but that's only because I had left something in the lab. My glasses. I didn't have time, so I asked Michael to pick them up.
Well, that's not a very clever excuse, but how can you prove the man is lying? There's an open glasses case on the table, and the glasses are inside. But Mr. Wilson, didn't you say that you left them in the lab?
Oh, did I say my glasses? Sorry, I meant my papers. I made this mistake because I asked my secretary Shirley to look for my glasses yesterday.
Find something to prove Mr. Wilson is lying. There's a calendar on Shirley's desk. Yesterday was her day off. It's marked red. Mr. Wilson is lying. Mr. Wilson was arrested, but people have already begun to turn into vampires. Can you guess who's actually a vampire? The woman on the right. She's putting on her makeup, but do you see? She isn't reflected in the mirror. Meanwhile, those who haven't turned into vampires gather everything they might need to survive. Which of these people is more likely to stay alive? All these supplies won't protect the guy on the right from vampires. As for the girl on the left, she's stocked up on what she can to defeat the vampires. She has a higher chance of survival. Let's check out the subway. There are two women here. Which of them is not pregnant? The girl on the left is not pregnant. Look, her belly is of a very strange shape. That's because she has hidden her survival supplies under her clothes. Vampires decided to throw a party. Who among those present is actually an undercover human? The guy on the left is a human. He's wearing makeup and false teeth. Nikki is also trying to survive. She packed her things and decided to move to a neighboring town. But suddenly, a vampire charged at her car. He damages the vehicle and takes away some supplies. Fortunately, he doesn't manage to bite Nikki. She escapes. Nikki has to stay home. The next day, a young man knocks on her door and asks for help. Is it okay to let him in? Nope. He has the same scar on his cheek like the vampire from the day before. Nikki continues to hide at home. One day, some girl starts knocking on her back door. Please help! A pack of vampires is chasing me! Nikki opens the door. The girl is out of breath, but she manages to say, They're almost here! Can I come in? Is it safe to let her in? No! This girl is a vampire. Anyone in this situation would immediately run inside the house, but vampires can't come in without an invitation. Nikki was checking her house and suddenly noticed that there was someone in the attic. She approached the shadows. It was a father and daughter. Please don't kick us out. Sorry, we snuck in without permission. We've been trying to hide from the vampires. The father said, Is it safe to let them stay? Yes, firstly, they're sitting in the sun, but their skin seems to be okay. Secondly, they managed to enter the house without an invitation. That means they're humans. Nikki let them stay. Let's take a little break. Time for some quick riddles. Think fast. A vampire lived in a one-story black cottage. He had a black cat, a black fish, a black computer, a black armchair, a black desk, and a black phone. Everything was black. What color was the staircase? There was no staircase in that house because it was a one-story cottage. 3 vampires are walking fast. The first vampire says, "2 other vampires are walking behind me." The second one says,
One vampire is walking behind me, and one is walking in front of me.
and the third one says, "2 vampires are walking in front of me, and 2 are walking behind me." How is that possible? These vampires are walking in circles. Humans, vampires, and werewolves gathered in one mansion. There are as many werewolves as there are vampires. There are as many vampires as there are humans. How many creatures are there if 3 of them are werewolves? There are 9 creatures in the mansion, 3 werewolves, 3 vampires, and 3 humans. Now let's go back to Nikki and her adventures. Nikki, Peter, and his daughter Becky decided to go to another town together. It takes 2 days to get there. They drove all day until night fell. Now they have 3 options. First, they can continue driving until the morning, despite the fact that they may meet a lot of vampires along the way. Second, they can spend the night in the nearest cave with bats. And third, they can sleep in the car. Which option would be the safest for them? Sleeping in the car is a bad idea. Vampires can sneak up on them in the middle of the night. A night in a cave is also a bad option. Vampires can hide among these bats. The safest option is to keep driving. Although they'll probably meet vampires, they have a chance to survive if they drive faster. They drove really fast and managed to reach the city by the morning. But when they got out of the car, they discovered they were surrounded by vampires. To escape, they need to choose one of 3 roads. On the first road, there's a pack of vampires. They're coming straight at the guys. There are wild hogs on the second road. The third road leads through a dark alley with hundreds of bats. Which of these 3 ways is the safest? The second way is the best option because the sun illuminates it, so vampires can't follow Nikki and her new friends. Plus, these dogs don't look too unfriendly. The guys reach 3 stores. Now they need to decide which of the stores is safe to enter. Nikki, Peter, and Becky look through the windows to see what's inside. The first store is empty, but it seems to be full of traps. The second store is full of survivors, but they look dangerous. And the third store seems empty as well, but it's completely dark there, and you can't see anything except for dozens of bats. Where should Nikki lead her friends? The first store is the safest. If Nikki, Peter, and Becky notice these traps, then the chances are high they'll be able to avoid them. It's worth a try. There's a man in the city who's trying to survive by hiding among vampires. Nikki spent a week photographing vampires to figure out who he was. Will you be able to see who is actually human in these photos? You can see this man has all 4 photos. In one of the photos, he's eating garlic bread, and in this one, his leg is exposed to the sun. He's only pretending to be a vampire. Nikki and the others decided to invite this man to join their group. The man was delighted and said that his name was Douglas. He was a journalist looking for safe places for people. He suggested creating a password that only humans could figure out. They came up with this one: HAWUH. Can you guess why? If you look at the reflection of this word in the mirror, you will see Huwan, or Huwan. Flip the letter W and you get the word human. But only those who get reflected in the mirror will be able to solve this puzzle. Nikki and her friends settle down in this town. Can you guess which of these houses belongs to Nikki, in which Peter and Becky live, and in which Douglas has chosen? House number 1 belongs to Peter and Becky. There are 2 bicycles next to it. House number 2 belongs to the journalist. Do you see his equipment? And the remaining house, house number 3, belongs to Nikki.
On the weekend, Ashley wanted to go to the party her classmate was throwing, but her father didn't let her go. So, Ashley asked if she could go visit her grandparents instead. They had recently moved to a nice one-story country house. This time, her father happily agreed. But Ashley only used this as an excuse to leave home. In reality, the girl went to the party. When she came back home after the weekend, her father asked her what she had been doing at her grandparents' place. Ashley said she had been mostly studying upstairs. Her father immediately knew she was lying. But he didn't even call his parents to ask if what Ashley said was true. How did he understand? Ashley said she'd spent her days upstairs, but her grandparents lived in a one-story house. I guess Ashley needed to get her story straight. Michael wants to play some games on his brother's computer. The brother usually allows him to do it, but only when Michael manages to break the code. Today, the hint is Ava 0, Kate 200, Beth 500, Olivia 0, Avery, what's the passcode? Each consonant in the word gives you 200 points, and each vowel takes away 100 points. In Ava, there's one consonant that gives 200 points, but then each vowel takes away 100, so it results in 0. In Kate, 2 consonants make it 400 points, and 2 vowels take away 200, which leaves us with 200 points. Now you get the pattern. So, following this logic, there are 2 consonants in Avery. That's 400 points. But 3 vowels take away 300 points altogether. It means the password is 100. Esme got lost in the forest, again. She was wandering around all day long. Finally, at dusk, she saw a spooky house where a witch lived. Esme had nowhere else to go, so she entered the house, petted the witch's cat, and asked for help. The witch had a problem of her own. "If you manage to solve it, I'll let you go. Look, I have 2 apples. I want to cut them so all 3 of us, me, you, and the cat, get the same portion. But my magical knife can only make 1 cut." How can Esme solve this problem? She should put the apples together and make a diagonal cut across them. There'll be 4 pieces. But the 2 smaller ones will make the 3rd portion, and it'll be equal in size to the other 2. An old king had no heirs to the throne, but he needed one, so he asked the smartest young people in the kingdom to gather at the palace. He gave them each an egg. Then he said that whoever took the best care of their egg and could grow a beautiful bird would be the next king or queen. Half a year later, the young people came back with gorgeous birds of different kinds. Only one girl, Scarlet, came back empty-handed. She said she couldn't do it. Surprisingly, the king announced her to be the next queen. Can you explain why? The king gave everybody a simple rock instead of a real egg, which means that no one could possibly grow a bird. Everyone else cheated except for Scarlet. And the king realized she was the only one who would make a good and fair queen. Ariana wanted to have some pocket money, so she started to work at a bookstore. At the end of her first day, she noticed that one book of the collection was missing. There was no record of someone buying it, so it must have been stolen. Ariana was an honest girl. She went to the manager and admitted she hadn't noticed the theft. But the manager just laughed and said that nothing was missing. Take another look at the bookshelf and try to figure out why. The collection only has 8 books. The 9th book is actually book number 6, but it's standing upside down and in the wrong place. Mrs. Miller has 4 daughters, Abby, Beth, Charlie, and Danny. They're identical quadruplets. Once, the woman asked the girl's teacher to let Abby go after the first class. She had an important appointment. The teacher couldn't tell the teenagers apart, and the girls wanted to have some fun. So they gave her a hint. Charlie is somewhere in the middle. Danny is on the left side of Beth and on the right of Abby. Abby is right next to Danny. Can you help the teacher identify all the girls and find out which one is Abby? So we know Charlie is somewhere in the middle, and since Danny has someone on both sides, she's somewhere in the middle too. If Charlie is the second, Danny must be the third, and since Danny is on the left side of Beth, Beth must be the fourth, and Abby the first. But it can't be true, because Abby and Danny are supposed to be next to each other. But if we switch Charlie and Danny, Danny will be right next to Abby, but still on the left side of Beth. It means that the right order is Abby, Danny, Charlie, and Beth. Abby is the first girl. Mrs. Jones' friend called her to say she had just seen one of her sons at a party, but she wasn't sure which one it was. Mrs. Jones never allowed her sons to go to parties. She asked them if any of them had been there, but the guys denied breaking the rules. Mark said he had been studying. John said he had been practicing for his piano class. And Ethan said he had been playing computer games. Can you figure out who's lying? Ethan. Look, he has a lipstick stain on his collar. A company was hiring a new manager. They wanted full commitment, so they didn't want this person to have a family. Ben and Rob came to the interview. Both of them said they weren't fathers and didn't plan to become ones. Rob had a flawless resume, but the company still hired Ben, even though he wasn't as good as Rob. Why? Before the interview, Ben had to take his teenage daughter to her ballet class. After that, he accidentally brought her pink ballet backpack with him. The HR specialist noticed it and realized Ben had a daughter. In June, all students had their final math exam. The professor looked at them and understood that one of them was going to cheat. Who was it, and how did the man figure it out? It must be this girl. It's June, and everyone is wearing t-shirts and shorts. But she's put on a sweater and high boots. She must be hiding something. George and Carter are cooking dinner for tonight. Can you see who is doing something wrong? It's Carter. Look, he's using rat poison as a salad dressing instead of oil by accident. I think I'll skip the salad tonight. Liam and Owen were camping in a forest. Suddenly, they saw a bear near their tent. Liam decided to run away, and Owen froze and stood still. Who is in danger? Liam. The bear is likely to start chasing him, and the animal will definitely be faster. If you ever find yourself in such a situation, it's better to keep your cool. Slowly move backward, keeping eye contact. Michelle and Emma were enjoying their time outside when a storm started. Michelle hid in her car that was in the middle of the beach, and Emma just kept swimming away from the shore. Who is not smart? Emma. She should get out of the water immediately and join Michelle in the car. It's dangerous to touch water during a thunderstorm. Two friends, Tom and James, went swimming after school. They found a nice spot and decided to jump from a cliff. Can you tell who's in danger? Tom. He should have examined the bottom more thoroughly. There are rocks under the cliff he chose to jump from. Oh boy. Camilla and Rachel were cleaning the house. At some point, both women entered their teenage children's bedrooms. Camilla noticed her son's phone and decided to check it. And Rachel found her daughter's diary and opened it. Who's in trouble? Both mothers aren't doing that great, checking other people's personal things. But Camilla is about to get busted. Her son is about to walk into the room. Elizabeth and Mackenzie are both late for work. They're driving over the speed limit. Who isn't smart? Elizabeth. Too many random things are lying around in her car. In case of an accident, they may hit her. Two guys, Mike and David, came to the prom looking gorgeous, but one of them isn't as rich as he wants to seem. Can you tell who it is? Look at Mike's shoes. They're all dirty. He must have been walking to the prom because he couldn't afford a car. But I'll bet his girlfriend loves him for the great guy he is, not how much money is in his pocket. Megan and Jennifer are the most popular girls at school, but one of them is poorer than the other. Can you tell who it is? It's Megan. Look at her purse. It looks like Gucci, but the logo is wrong. It must be a cheap copy of the bag. But Megan saved a lot of money, so maybe she is the smartest. Two families are going on vacation. Look at them attentively and try to figure out which family spends more money. The family on the left. Their bags have stickers on them showing they travel regularly. Or maybe the family on the right just prefers collecting fridge mags over stickers. Karen had to go to the hospital the other day. As soon as she entered the building, she felt there was something wrong about that place. Walking along the corridor, she saw two nurses. Which nurse is fake? The one on the right. Look, her shoes are dirty and she barely knows how to hold a syringe. Stay away from her, Karen. Adam is a successful IT specialist who works 24/7 from home. He rarely goes anywhere, but a week ago, he decided to go on vacation. He packed his bags and left. A week later, when he came back, he instantly noticed there was someone in his apartment while he was away. Since he lives alone, he immediately called the police. Why? Before he left, there was a bin full of papers and candy wrappers. When he came back, the bin was empty. Adele just loves traveling and does it any time she can. She took some days off and headed to the airport to go to a new destination. That morning, there were only 4 flights. Paris, departing at 7 a.m., New York, departing at 7:30 a.m., Los Angeles, departing at 8:05 a.m., and Sydney, departing at 8:10 a.m. Where's Adele flying? To Sydney. Look at her suitcase. It has several stickers on it. A sticker with the Statue of Liberty means she's already been to New York. The one with the Eiffel Tower means she's traveled to Paris. And look at the I Love LA sticker. Hey, have a good time in Australia, Adele. Ryan owns a multi-billion-dollar corporation. It's been several months since he started searching for a new head of one of the departments, but he still hasn't found one. Looking through the new CVs his secretary left on his desk, he realized one candidate lied about their experience. Who was it? There are 3 CVs. Each of them has the candidate's age, work experience, and education. But how can someone born in 2000 have a PhD in economics? When Jessica came home from work, she noticed that someone stole an expensive painting from her bedroom, hanging right above the bed. She immediately called the police and explained what happened. She said she didn't touch anything in that room, and when she noticed the painting had been gone, she called them to investigate. The police arrested her on the spot. Why did they arrest her? Jessica said she hadn't touched anything, but the bed is perfectly made. If there had been a robbery, the bed would have been a mess. It wasn't possible to get the painting without stepping on it. A wicked troll caught Marge and locked her up in one of the rooms in his castle. He said it was impossible to get out of that room even though there were 3 exit doors. All of them were equipped with motion sensors. If Marge opens the first door, it'll start a mechanism that fills the room with toxic gas. If Marge opens the second door, it'll start another mechanism. A motion sensor will see the movement and a super heavy weight will fall down immediately. Behind the third door, there's a swarm of venomous mosquitoes no one can get through. Despite it all, Marge managed to escape. How did she do it? She tricked the motion sensor behind the second door into thinking it was her moving there. But in fact, she just threw her shoe in that room first, the heavy weight fell down, and Marge ran away without a shoe. You have 5 pencils. Green, blue, and orange ones are short. Red and yellow pencils are long. You need to arrange them in a special order. Long pencils are next to each other. The green pencil is between the orange and the red pencil. The pencils on the edges are of different sizes. The 4th pencil is short. The correct order is yellow, red, green, orange, blue. You work in a supermarket and need to arrange 3 boxes from lightest to heaviest. You know that the yellow box is heavier than the black one. 2 black boxes weigh the same as the yellow and pink boxes combined. Okay, this was pretty simple. First goes the pink box, the lightest one. Then you need to put the black box, and then the yellow one, the heaviest. Hey, you got to do weird things at work. Detective Hugh followed a criminal. Unfortunately, he didn't know what he looked like because the criminal would always wear a hood and large sunglasses. The detective knew exactly that he was hiding in one of the 3 houses in Maple Street. When Hugh came up to the first house and knocked on the door, a man opened the door and said he lived alone. He also said it had been several days since he last left home. He claimed he didn't know anything about that criminal. The detective inspected the house and instantly realized the man was lying. How did he understand it? There's an umbrella hidden behind the sofa. The umbrella is wet and there is a small puddle on the floor. This man is either the criminal or he's trying to hide one. Mike was driving back home in Chicago in winter when a blizzard started. The weather was awful, and Mike thought it would be safer to spend a night in a hotel and wait until it stopped snowing. The hotel was a bit iffy, but since it was for one night only, Mike thought it was okay. The next morning when he checked out and came up to his car, he noticed something was wrong and called the police. What was the problem? The car is covered with snow. It's okay since it's been snowing all night long, but the windshield is clean, which means someone must have taken his car. Simon grabbed a really nice muffin in the cafe and put it on his office desk. He wanted to save it for later and eat it at the coffee break. But when he came back from a meeting, he saw someone had eaten his muffin. There are only 3 people who could do that, and only one is telling the truth. Jack says it was Ashton. Ashton says he didn't eat anything. Tyler says he didn't eat anything either. Who ate the muffin? It was Tyler. Only one person is telling the truth, and it's Ashton. If Jack or Tyler told the truth, then it would be 2 people who were telling the truth. But Simon knew only one person wasn't lying. A vampire recently moved to a big city where nobody knew him to start a brand new life. Still, he just couldn't help it and started biting locals every single night. People got scared and asked Detective Ryan to help them out. A couple of days later, he already had 3 suspects. All of them recently moved to that city. Ryan visited all of the suspects, and he was sure he found the notorious vampire. Who is the vampire? Well, the man on the left has loads of garlic in the kitchen, and vampires can't stand it. The second suspect has lots of silver cutlery in the kitchen, and he doesn't mind eating with a silver fork. No vampire can do that. The guy in a hoodie is the vampire. Hey, looks like someone has to move again. A man went to a houseware store to grab something for his new apartment. If he grabs one good, it costs $1. If it's 13, it costs him $2. If it's 138, he'll pay $3. What did he buy? The goods he needed were the numbers for his apartment doors. He lives in apartment 138, so he bought 3 numbers for $1 each. A scientist created a robot, Jason, who looked exactly like a human. One day, Jason ran away from the scientist's house because he wanted to start a life on his own. Hey, maybe he could be roommates with that vampire. The police started looking for him immediately, but the scientist had no photo of Jason. They soon realized Jason was hiding in the swimming pool and went there to investigate. There were 4 men in the swimming pool claiming they had spent almost an hour swimming, and the police asked them to do one thing to prove they're not robots. This way, they found Jason in no time. What did they ask them to do? They asked them to show their hands. Those who had wrinkly fingers after swimming were real people. The one with smooth hands is a robot. Emily told her boss someone had stolen the report she prepared for the meeting. She also added that she had noticed someone come in wearing a hoodie to hide their face, a black tracksuit, and gloves. This person also had a ring with a large gem. The boss didn't believe her. Why? She said the person was wearing gloves. Then how did she see that ring then? Emily must have simply stained that report with coffee she drinks all the time. Penny was alone in a hotel room. All of a sudden, somebody knocked on the door and a man came into the room. But when he saw Penny, he apologized and said he must have entered the wrong room. As soon as he went out, Penny called the police. Why? Penny thought something was wrong because the man knocked on the door before entering. If he really believed it was his room, he wouldn't have knocked. He must have done it to check if there was someone in the room. 4 people are sitting at a table next to you in a cafe. There's a man, Jason, and 3 women, Rosie, Sarah, and Claire. Can you guess which woman is his wife? Even though Sarah's wearing an outfit that looks very much like the one Jason's wearing, she's not his wife. She doesn't have a ring. Claire has no ring either, but Rosie has a matching one. A detective got an anonymous email about an upcoming heist in one of New York's museums. In order to stop it from happening, he needs to know the month the heist is planned for. Later, the police managed to find a clue. It was a note with a secret code. The police couldn't crack it, so they brought it to the detective. What month is the heist planned for? The detective cracked the code almost immediately. A jar in the picture stands for J, a ukulele stands for U, a nugget stands for N, and an eggplant stands for E. Ah, June! There are 12 floors in the apartment building. The higher the floor, the more people live there. Which floor does the elevator go to most often? It's the first floor. The residents of all floors go down to the first floor. The other day, Annabelle was rummaging around her auntie's attic when she accidentally stumbled upon 5 short chains, each made of 4 silver links. She thought it could be great if she combined them all into one big chain of 20 links. When she went back to town, she brought those tiny chains to a jeweler. He told her it would cost $5 for each silver link that he would have to break and then reseal. How much will the chain cost? Annabelle could do that for $25 if she told the jeweler to break a link in each chain. But she was really smart, so she asked the jeweler to break all 4 links in one chain and use them to attach the other chains together, which cost her $20. One day, Stephanie got lost in the woods, and no wonder, in the end she stumbled upon an old witch's house. The door cracked open and she came in. The witch turned out to be really kind and promised Stephanie to make her one dream come true if she cracks a riddle. Stephanie was dreaming of a new phone, so she agreed. The witch asked, if 11 plus 3 equals 2, what does 8 plus 6 equal? It took Stephanie quite a while to come up with an answer, but she nailed it. What was the answer? $11 plus 3 equals 2 o'clock. 8 plus 6 equals 2 too. Hop on the bright side of life together with our brand new tees, hoodies, and more. Click the link to pick your choice. You're getting hungry and want to boil a 2-minute egg. If you only have a 3-minute hourglass timer, a 4-minute hourglass timer, and a 5-minute hourglass timer, how can you boil the egg for only 2 minutes? When you see the water boiling, turn the 3-minute timer and 5-minute timer over. When the 3-minute timer runs out, you need to put the egg in the boiling water. You'll have 2 minutes on the 5-minute hourglass timer, and when it finishes, take the egg out of the water and enjoy your meal. Mr. Wright had a small store in Chicago called 5 Flags, but there were 6 flags hanging outside. He could easily correct that mistake, but he didn't. Can you figure out the reason? At first, it was just a mistake, but later Mr. Wright noticed that people would often come to his store to tell about that problem, which increased his sales. A wise king realized he was tired of all the hard work he had to do, so he decided to find someone who could replace him. He decided to make a challenge, and the one who nails it will become the new king. Anyone who wanted to take the throne needed to put a whole cucumber into a glass bottle without cutting the cucumber or damaging the bottle. The participants had a week to do it. This challenge seemed to be impossible, so only 5 people decided to take part, and there was only one winner. How did he put the cucumber in the bottle? He placed a baby cucumber still on its stem into the bottle. Cucumbers grow rather fast, so he had enough time to win that competition. If it's raining at midnight, can you expect that in 72 hours it'll be sunny? Nope, in 72 hours, it's going to be night again. You see a bathtub filled with water. You have a spoon, a cup, and a bucket. Which will you choose to empty the bathtub? Obviously, choose to pull out the plug. Allison majored in math at university. Her roommates wanted to test her intelligence. They took 3 envelopes and wrote short messages on them. Then they put the answers to Allison's exam questions in one of the envelopes. Only one envelope had a truthful message written on it. The other 2 were false. Allison wasn't allowed to open the envelopes and could only pick one. The first message read, "There are no exam answers here." The second was, "The exam answers are here." And the third message read, "The exam answers aren't in the second envelope." Which envelope should Allison pick? The third one. It tells the truth, which means the exam answers are in the first envelope. Joanna and Josh were on their honeymoon in France. On the first day, they went on a city tour around Paris and left all their stuff in the hotel room. When they came back, someone was standing outside their door trying to get in. The couple called the receptionist right away, but the man claimed Joanna and Josh owed him some money for the tours they had taken in the past 4 days. The receptionist knew the man was lying right away. How did he figure it out? It was the couple's first day in the hotel. Russell and Anna were on vacation. One day, Anna told Russell she couldn't go to the beach with him because she was feeling unwell. When Russell came back to the room to grab his phone, Anna was gone. He found her by the pool and asked, "Are you here alone?" She nodded, but Russell immediately realized she was lying. How? There were 2 soda pops on her table and 2 fruit platters. Apparently, this was also going to be Russell and Anna's last vacation together. Gregory was on a mission to take some nature photos for his blog. As he was walking through the forest, he fell into a deep pit. He tried to climb out of it, but in vain. When he held onto one rock, it gave away, and water started to pour inside. The pit was filling fast. Gregory saw a deflated ball, an empty barrel, and a piece of wooden board. What should he use to get out of the pit? Well, the deflated ball is too small and has a slit in its side. The wooden board won't support his weight. The best option is the empty barrel. It'll keep Gregory afloat. Paul and Pauline left for their honeymoon and asked their neighbor to look after their house. When they returned, the woman found out that she had lost all her expensive jewelry because of a power outage. The woman had hidden her jewelry in a supposed safe place. The house wasn't robbed. The neighbor was an honest person. The jewelry got lost by accident. What happened? The wife had hid her jewelry in the freezer in a bag with frozen food. After the power failure, all the food spoiled. The kind-hearted neighbor decided to help and threw away all the bad food, together with the jewelry. There's a barrel of water in the yard. You look inside and say that it's more than half full, but your friend argues it's less than half full. How can you figure out who's right without using any measuring tools or removing water from the barrel? Tilt the barrel so that the water touches its rim. If you can see the bottom, the barrel's less than half full. If the bottom is still covered with water, it's more. Mark, Jim, and Bob work as managers in the same office. One day, one of them is fired, and one gets a promotion. The remaining manager wants to resign at first, but then changes his mind. You know that the one who's fired is older than the rest and single. Jim's younger than the manager, who has decided to stay at work, and he doesn't know Bob's wife. Who's fired? It's not Jim because he's younger than the manager who stays. It's also not Bob because he's married. It means that Mark has been fired, Jim has got a promotion, and Bob has